What is up, Rotogrinders? Dean here, Dean7904. That is a daily fantasy handle. Hopefully, maybe we'll see at the top of some tournament laps. We kind of got close last night on the big Fanduel tournament, the $9 one. I think I was top 20, something like that. We made a bit of a run there. It was kind of sort of somewhat interesting late. Could have used some Fab Five Freddy in the ninth. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Turner as well, but new day. Awesome slate. I love this slate tonight. With that, going to bring in Head Chopper. Chopper, how are things in your world? How's DFS working out for you? I see you have the old mic check in the YouTube chat. What up, YouTube? Hit that like button, do subscribe, do turn those notifications, and chime in the chat. I got my eye on chat today for the first time in a while. Usually, producer Steve does a great job, Devin does a great job lurking, but now I feel like I should monitor what's going on in chat. If something interesting pops up, we'll talk about it. Chop, how are things in your world?
They're going fine, Dean. I've been testing my internet here for the last 45 minutes or so in preparation for the show, and everything's running smooth. So if something happens here, it's not my fault. It's not my fault, Dean, if something goes astray with the internet today.
Oh yeah, the last time out you had something funky going on, but I think that was something in the area, the entire company, and it was out of your hands, right? Is that what's going on?
I'm not sure, Dean. I still haven't got to the root of it all, but it's suspicious behavior on the internet's part. That's for sure. Dean, if I showed you my internet bill every month, you'd know why I'm so perturbed. If I even get one disturbance a year on that thing,
well, did you package it with cable and everything? How does your bill? Is this the same company?
It is packaged with cable, and it's all pretty damn expensive, Dean.
You got HBO and Showtime and all those?
I got the works. But,
yeah. So we're looking at like probably $300-400.
You're in the ballpark.
am I undershooting it?
You might be undershooting it. I think a few months out of the year, I'll probably get tagged a little more right now because I got the MLB package, and so they pay for that in 4 installments. So it's extra big for 4 months now, but.
You can't spring the 150 and just knock it out. It's got to get the
Dean, I don't choose these things. They just send me the offers, and I just click yes.
Keith, you're a new resident where you're at, so you're probably, I don't know, did you go cable? Did you cut the cord? I assume your cable bill is not, including internet, not near $400. You also probably get like initial offers first 6 months, a bit of a discount, right?
Yeah, you get those new move-in deals. That works out pretty well. So I'll ride it out through there and then make a decision after the promotion expires in a year whether to cut the cord or continue on with the big bill like Chop.
Yeah, I mean, and theoretically, I think you could write a lot of Chop. You know this. I mean, you could write off, the baseball package. If you need a $150 write-off, you can write it off if you want to.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the tax information because I wasn't aware of any of this stuff. I don't know what I'm doing.
That's not professional advice.
I don't know what I'm doing.
That's very amateur advice, but my understanding is that's something you can do. As somebody that's won $1 million a couple of times, Chop, I feel like you're probably good at doing the best you can for yourself tax-wise when it comes around.
I am, and another one, Dean. Another little known fact, Dean.
What's that?
I actually do my own taxes. I do my own taxes.
Really?
I do not go to a professional. I feel like I've got a pretty good grasp on it, on what I'm supposed to do, what I'm not supposed to do, and I kind of just don't trust anybody else. So I kind of just do it myself.
I got a guy, one of my best friends for years and years and years, and he does like all of our friends, the whole circle basically, and it's like everybody sort of like guesses what everybody else makes and that kind of thing, and it's just. He knows he's got the answer, but he's a vault. He doesn't tell anybody. It's no fun. because we have the power rankings, but it's just all speculation. Keith, you do your own taxes?
I do my own. Yep. Make sure you get all those write-offs in there.
Is that your background though?
Background in business, hotel management was my main professional background, but there's some accounting involved in managing a hotel for sure.
Do you have like a random, like, this is a bizarre thing? Like, did this happen one night? Is there a statute of limitations up in the hotel? Just like so bizarre, like the craziest night you had to manage the hotel. You got that story on layaway?
There's a couple. Yeah. I don't know if they're YouTube appropriate, some of them. So.
Fair enough. Well, Chopper, when he's in the show, we kind of expand YouTube appropriate because he'll say something. We'll talk about tomorrow soon enough.
You gotta go for it. Give us a good one. Come on, Keith. Give us a good one. Come on, we want to hear it. The people want to hear it.
I'll just say one of my favorites involves we'll call them women of the night jumping out of second floor hotel windows.
Oh, whoa. That was a teaser right there.
Chop's got some follow-up questions. Big boy slate tonight, not full, but 11 gamer, one clear stud at the top, I believe, as far as pitchers. A lot of interesting stacks that are worth talking about as well. There's many different ways to attack this slate with the bats. Some potential weather is lurking out there. Washington, this is earlier today. Roth had it at yellow orange. Of course, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth will be on around 6:30 and give you the most up-to-date update as far as what's going on weather-wise in Washington. He'll be joined by the CEO of the Bat and the Blitz. The Bat is what we care about right now. Derek Carty, and I believe Squirrel Patrol, like 20-time, finalist at Live Finals. Squirrel Patrol will be joining him as well. Of course, it's all in the same stream, and that is free this year. Thank you to Fanduel for sponsoring Crunch Time. Let's see. New York, we have it orange, yellow, so dicey there as well. Some wind blowing out for the White Sox, some wind blowing out for Atlanta. Keith, I guess we'll just talk about these under the assumption that everything's good to go. And, obviously things may change, but, I'm going to assume for the sake of the conversation that Washington's good to go and the Yankees are good to go. And Yankees are one of those offenses that we'll talk about plenty, but let's start at the top as far as the arms. I assume you agree that there's one clear and obvious best pitcher. Of course, salary is a thing as well.
Yeah, definitely one clear and obvious best pitcher. The salary is up there. The ownership is going to follow, but Carlos Rodon has been absolutely incredible to start the season here. Massive K rate, and now he's got a great matchup against Oakland. So yeah, I think he is pretty clearly above the rest.
I see the chat. They're baiting Chop. Ravens fan, what does Jazz say to the catcher after a home run again? Do you remember what that was, Chop? Now I'm baiting you.
I remember, but it's just not. It's not time yet for it. It's just not time yet, Dean.
Fair enough. We got it. If we get like 100 likes, we'll get a hotel story out of Keith or something. Who knows? I don't want to make any false promises. Never mind. I won't do that. And TJ's best when it comes to making promises and getting his Spidey bets out there. Yeah, Chop. I assume you agree. Carlos Rodon is the top dog as far as best pitcher roster in the slate. Of course, he's got a nice matchup as well. If you want to date it back to last year, best Ks in the business as far as against his contemporaries in the slate. I'm not counting Luis Severino, who has, in 6 innings is a 38% K rate this season or something like that. Yeah, sure, he's been spectacular. We'll talk about him, but Rodon at 34.6% as far as his Ks, that's electric. Gausman not that far behind at 29.3, but it's Rodon, right, Chopper? That's the top dog, and then you figure it out as far as ownership, figure out as far as salary and all that. But on DK, it's really easy. Fanduel a little bit trickier. You're on board, Chop?
Yeah, that's pretty clear cut. It's Rodon, and then it's the next level of guys. He's been pretty much unhittable for the better part of over a year now. Basically, injury is the only thing that slowed him down. So why not? He's in a good situation with a team that's really good with handling their pitchers, and you got to ride it out till he gets hurt. So let's roll.
Go ahead and pull up the Plate IQ and check the specific matchup as well. Let's see, against Oakland, of course. Oakland, a pretty inept offense. Dating back to last season, this Oakland offense that's projected as far as the lineup, not officially out just yet, but a 24.1% strikeout rate against lefties. You got Noisy at 35%, we're presuming is going to be in the lineup. Murphy at 28%. Betancourt at 33%. That's a small sample, so not freaking out about that. Yeah, there should be plenty of Ks in this Oakland lineup. Of course, it's a great ballpark to pitch in as well. Keith, how are you handling Rodon? Are you just going to like suck up that ownership and say I'll get different elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, I like a couple of pivots in the top range, but like I said, he's clearly in his own tier. So I'm going to try to at least match the field on him. I think he has by far the highest upside with the strikeout rate and his matchup. So I do like Gausman and Severino as well in that upper tier. But Rodon will be my clearly highest owned.
I'm pulling up the old lineup HQ. We have 56% projected ownership on DK. Of course, DK, you got a roster 2, so it's a little bit harder to get away from. And also the price is even more friendly than it is on FanDuel. For that reason, he's 32% projected on FanDuel. Still, and like the next guy, who's the next guy? Yeah, Luis Severino, then Max Fried, then Erod. That's FanDuel specific. I guess we should, Chop, what's your deal with Rodon? You just gonna like just roster him and that's that?
It's a good question, Dean. I'm on FanDuel, so it's a one pitcher site. So like if I'm on DraftKings, you know what? I'll probably be more likely to lock him in and then play around with that second spot on a one pitcher site. Boy, you know, he's expensive enough that you can maybe get away with the fade on some of your lineups. If another guy does really well, or if he just somehow has this, below average Rodon game, where he comes out in the 5th inning or for some reason or something like that. So maybe not lock him in 100% on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I probably would, and then roll with it. And on FanDuel, I mean, we got him projected right now at 32%. I don't know if those are accurate or not right now, but at 32, I'll be above the field. That's for sure.
Yeah, the interesting thing you said about 5 innings, and you're playing on FanDuel, you want to get that quality start. Obviously, 2 of his 3 he starts. He's not gotten out of the 5th or beyond the 5th, I guess I should say. But it's not pitch count reasons. It's just it takes more pitches to strike guys out than to pop them up or to ground them out. We're looking at 8 strikeouts, 9 strikeouts, 12 strikeouts, and he just uses more pitches because again, if you're going to strike somebody out on 3-2 after a couple of foul balls, we're talking about 8 or 9 pitches, and you multiply that by 3. Now all of a sudden we're talking about a 25 pitch inning. Those kind of things happen, which they're fine if you get the strikeouts, but if you're walking somebody, then all of a sudden you're in some trouble. Wanted to see as far as umpire data. I think we pretty much have all the umpire data with the exception of one game. At least that's the way it was earlier. This is on the lineup HQ tool as well. Focus on the extremes. Let's see, Hicks, who's just basically an opener there for St. Louis. Extreme hitters umpire for Hicks. For Lyles, that's the Baltimore Yankee game. Marcus Stroman, extreme hitters umpire. Severino, extreme hitters umpire. Chris Bassett, Max Fried, extreme pitchers umpire. Oh, Bill Miller, who Carty has once deemed as the Mike Trout of umpires as far as being in favor of pitchers, is behind home plate for Sandoval and McKenzie, which I don't know. I'm still probably not going to play those. We're not playing those guys, are we, Keith? Sandoval and McKenzie. If you're running 150, maybe, but I'm not running 150.
Yeah, I'm not running 150 either, and I don't know that there's enough of a discount to want to come down off of like a Gausman. I really like the ownership number on Gausman today because so many people are playing Rodon. Gausman feels a little bit under-owned in that tough matchup with Boston, but he's still got plenty of strikeout upside.
Yeah, you say it's a tough matchup, and it is a tough matchup, but it's got a little weaker because there's no Rafael Devers in the lineup. That lineup falls off a little bit quicker. Story is back today for what it's worth. Story, Verdugo, Bogarts, Jenny Martinez, Hernandez, JBJ, Dahlback, Arroyo, and Vasquez. Talking about Gausman, because I'm thinking about running out Gausman and Rodon on DK and just going double barrel, and that's something I'm looking at. And of course, on FanDuel, I'm fine making a lot of there just as my solo pitcher. But how much does that matter that Devers is out? Like I liked him in the morning, and I saw Devers out. Okay, that makes him at least incrementally more interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, the lineup falls off a little quicker, and there are plenty of Ks in this Boston lineup. Gausman around 30% Ks each of the last few years. You've got Story at the top with a good strikeout rate, JD in the middle, and then you got guys like Bradley and Dahlback who just strike out a ton. So I think there's potential for him. He just faced this team and struck out 8, I believe it was. I can see him doing something similar than that. You lose the threat of Devers and his pop in the middle of the lineup. So, yeah, I think it's a really good spot for Gausman.
Chop, Gausman?
Yeah, he seems pretty solid. I mean, Like you just like you said, you just faced the same team, and I went 8-1 on them. And the start before that was against the Yankees, so on the road. Both those were on the road. He's had some tough matchups, and he's come through this year, and he's gotten just a little bit better every start team. So yeah, I don't mind. He'll be one of the guys in the mix. You mentioned some of the other guys, like you're not playing Sandoval or those other guys, right? And I don't think I am. Like, I think you're right. After you get to a certain level on this particular slate, you better not get too fancy with it, because one of these other guys is likely to have a slate breaking performance. If not Rodon, then Gausman or even Severino, somebody along those lines. So yeah, I don't think you get too cute with it, especially on FanDuel where you only got one of these guys. So Gausman will be in the mix, and he'll be on the short list tonight. Yeah.
Hey, Chapo, Wesley in chat on the YouTube chat wants to know, do you still have that air horn? Is that still something? I know as a part of your gimmick for basketball. Do you have it for baseball?
Gimmick? I don't. Gimmick is implying something entirely different, Dean. Yes, I've still got the air horn, and it's not a gimmick.
Well, you can break news.
It's an alert device, Dean.
The air horn is not actually the alert device. Is the alert that is actually the device, like your phone.
Dean, we don't get a scrolling, push notification on the screen on YouTube. We have to alert the peoples that there's news out there. That's the way I alert them.
You can't alert them verbally.
While we're on the subject, Dean, of that kind of stuff, did you know I didn't even know there was such a thing, Dean. This past weekend was, what is it? What do they call it? Like emergency supply tax-free weekend. You get tax-free on anything that's emergency supply. Did you know that was a thing that exists? I didn't either until this past weekend. I was like, whoa, okay, let's take advantage of that. So I got me a portable generator, tax-free.
So you weren't going to buy one, and all of a sudden now you're just like spending money just for the sake of spending money.
False, Dean. You're false. That's assumptions. I've always had my eye on a portable generator ever since we had the freeze that knocked out the power in Texas for 3 days. I was like, man, we should probably really get one. My wife's been pushing me. We should get one of those portable generators just in case that ever happens again.
What's the going rate? About $1,000?
Never wanted to invest in it, but boy, you give it to me tax free. Boom, I'm in it. It was about $1,000 portable generator. But I got what I did my research. I'm thinking this is top of the line stuff right here.
I know in Florida they would have like a week before school started, like all school supplies would be tax free. That used to be a thing. I don't know if that still is a thing.
That is a thing. I think that's nationwide. That's why it surprised me when I said emergency stuff. I can get all that tax free. I'm on it, man. Not just school stuff.
Now, when your neighbor, and then this happens again, God forbid, are you going to let your neighbor know you happen to have a generator, and would you just share this generator, or
I will not be sharing it, and they'll know by the big sound of the gas engine that's in my backyard. They were not allowed to plug into my generator. No.
All right, good to know. All right, I was looking at a house right next to yours, but now forget it. It's a good way to keep me away, I suppose. Hey, we should talk about Luis Severino. How many pitches is he going to throw tonight? He's been awesome so far in a small sample. There is some potential weather lurking there. I would say, I would imagine they'd be super, super cautious. If there's any sort of delay with him, they probably wouldn't bring him back. Keith, Severino seems like one of the interesting pivots. You're getting a nice discount on FanDuel. He almost, I don't want to say definitely, but very unlikely he gets that quality start. Like, you can get 5. I don't think you're getting 6 unless he's super efficient. Fine matchup against Baltimore, obviously. But Severino, is he one of the pivots away from Rodon for you?
He is, yes. It's more than a fine matchup against Baltimore. 24.7% strikeout rate for Baltimore. They don't walk a lot, but they don't have a ton of power. So I think this is a great matchup for Severino. The pitch count is the main concern, but I love the strikeout upside here, assuming that Roth gives us the okay on the weather. And it seems like it's more light rain than like potentially delay risk rain. So that makes me feel a little bit better. Don't love the extreme hitters Umpire, but I think he's still fine. This is a great matchup for Severino.
Shout out to Kirkwood in the chat, Bobby Fi in the chat. Not to be confused with other Bobbies that Chop may be confusing him with. What's up? What's going on? There's some chatter going on in the old YouTube. I should keep my eye on this more often, see what's going on. And they want to talk about Erod. We'll talk about Erod in a second too. And man, I think he's going to be pretty chalky on DK as like an SP2 because he's super cheap and it is pretty cold there in Minnesota. But Chop, I want your take on Severino first.
Yeah, Luis, he's looking pretty good these days, right? Coming back he's looking okay. He's got some fairly decent numbers here. He's not walking very many guys this year. It's a small sample, but you got to take what you can get with him coming back from injury. Hard hit rate is down. Walk percentage is down. Striking out a few guys. Lots of ground balls. So so far so good for him. I think the Baltimore lineup is not particularly good. And so Cedric Mullins is kind of coming back to reality, despite some people wanting to be that true all-star. I don't think he really is. So I can get on board with Severino. Like I said, there's a short list, and then there's nothing else for me, and he's on the short list.
Yeah, I mean, it did let him throw 80-plus baseballs, so if he is efficient, like it's possible he can go 6 innings. He went to 5 his last time out, 5 before that, 88 pitches, 83 pitches. So theoretically, I guess he can go 6. But Chop, let's talk about Erod. Who's just always one of those guys that like looks better when you dig into the numbers as far as the actual numbers, but like the below the hood looks better than the actual, on the surface stuff. Matchup today against Minnesota. The weather looks pretty conducive for pitching, more so than it is for hitting. Yeah, as far as strikeouts lineup, there's plenty of strikeouts that Minnesota lineup. Buxton's awesome, but he'll strike out plenty. Garlic strikes out 31% of the time versus lefties. Sano you want to see in there. He is cracking the lineup, and Jeffers strikes out a good bit too. Yeah, how are you handling Erod? I think you're saying you're playing on Fanduel, but this is more of a DK question. I think you can play him on Fanduel, of course. But do you have an Erod thought before I throw it to Keith?
Not the biggest Erod guy here. I don't. There's nothing. I mean, so he got to 6 innings last start. That was good, but the upside is okay. But it doesn't really outweigh the risk with him, which is, the walks and lose control and then you're done. He has had better control this year so far, but, he's also gotten hit pretty hard this year if we're just going strictly by the numbers. So Erod, probably not a guy that makes my one pitcher site list, but I definitely wouldn't besmirch anybody for playing him on DraftKings where you need 2 of those guys.
Keith?
Yeah, kind of in the same boat, even on 2 pitcher sites. Don't love the ownership number we're seeing. Minnesota has a lot of right-handed power in that lineup. I'm going to try to pay up for pitcher more than I'm going to go down to Erod, I think. There are plenty of value bats on this slate. So I'll probably end up a little bit under the field. I think it's a fine matchup with some strikeouts in it, but Minnesota offers some power, and Erod can have those bouts of wildness. So you're just hoping that he runs the pitch count up early. Maybe they hit a couple of home runs off him, and you can survive him even at that price tag.
Pulling up the Ross Weather Edge tool as far as Minnesota, 32 games is not like a huge sample, but 32 games previous similar weather as they have today, 43 degrees, crosswind, 8 miles per hour. We saw a decrease in homers at 26%, an increase in runs at 9%, which is sort of weird. But maybe it's just not a big enough sample. But I would think that that's not necessarily home run hitting weather, 43 degrees there in Minnesota. But you're right. I don't love that as kind of sort of like the chalk SP2. I'm going to have some, I'm sure, but I don't know. You think 20% is right, Keith, as far as I think he's going to be more popular than Severino. Maybe I'm wrong in saying that, but
I agree with you. I think he's going to come in a little bit higher on than 20% on DraftKings where you can play too.
Yeah, and I think Gausman and Severino are a similar price, and I believe I have Gausman ahead of Severino. I just think his upside's a little higher, go a little deeper. The absence of Devers we talked about. I don't know. And, of course, weather pending there as far as New York. If you're to pick one of those two, they're basically the same price. Who do you prefer as your I was going to say SP2, but they could be your SP1 as well.
Yeah, I'm going to play a ton of Rodon, so they are going to be my SP2 in a lot of lineups, and Gausman will be the guy I am most overweight the field from the pitcher pool.
Who else should we acknowledge their existence? Marcus Stroman's really cheap on DK, 5.9K. I love Sandy Alcantara. I think he's an awesome pitcher, not like an elite strikeout guy, but he's sort of like the Walker Buehler tonight, I guess you can say. Like Buehler nobody saw him pitch in 9 innings, but he's a guy that you can trust to go 6 or 7 and, not strike out a pile, but be really, really good from a run prevention perspective and maybe run through a couple extra strikeouts here and there. I don't think people are playing Sandy. Again, that's another spot where there is potential weather. We'll see what Roth has to say. How do you feel about Alcantara in tournaments, Keith? Is he interesting as a pivot? Because I don't believe, I'm trying to find what his ownership is. I'm guessing it's not very high, unless I missed it.
I'm looking at around.
Yep. That's on FanDuel. What's DK?
I got him around 8% on DK.
How do you feel about him?
I do like this matchup with Washington. And I mentioned I was going to be trying to pay up for pitcher as much as I could on this slate. And that's because of the other guys in this 9K range. I think there's 3 very talented pitchers here. Alcantara is one of them. Chris Bassett, I really like. Not a great matchup against St. Louis, but they're better against left-handed pitching. Just not huge strikeout rates. But Bassett is an underrated pitcher as well that I'm interested in. And then Max Fried against this Cubs team. He is carrying a little bit of ownership. We've got him around 17% on DK. So I probably don't get over the field on Fried. But Bassett and Alcantara specifically, I do want to get a little bit over the field on. Not huge strikeout guys, either one of them. But like you said, just should be able to pitch pretty deep into the game here. And if you can get a strikeout per inning, you get a bust from Rodon, and that could be pretty useful.
You got a preference amongst those 3, Chop? We have Fried, we have Alcantara, we got Bassett, all like pretty similar as far as their skill set, mid-20s as far as strikeouts. Washington, not an amazing lineup, but they're pretty contact heavy. And I'm pulling up the matchup for Fried against the Cubbies as far as strikeouts. He was really, really good last time out against the Dodgers. Wisdom, Hermosillo are big strikeout guys, and then Happ, but otherwise pretty good contact hitter in the Chicago lineup. And, Fried, good strikeouts, 24, but certainly nowhere near elite. You have a preference amongst those 3, Chopper?
Yes, I do, Dean. Well,
are you going to tell us?
Yes, I am. Let me just make sure I'm pulling up my stats here. So it's Alcantara for me. Bassett is probably, out of those 3, probably has the highest upside tonight because St. Louis, he can strike out now. Kind of theoretically, he should be able to strike out more than the other 2 guys, but he's also facing an offense that can absolutely run him out of the game a lot quicker. So he has a lot lower floor too. So upside Bassett and floor is really low on Bassett. So that kind of eliminates him for me. Max Fried, I don't know. I just don't see. I mean, I love the matchup against the Cubs. They do kind of stink, but I just don't see them ever turning him loose. Maybe, they just don't turn him loose. They still kind of treat him with a little bit of kid glove. So not loving that. Alcantara is the guy, doesn't strike out a lot, and this is a contact heavy lineup, but you really only got to pitch around. There's only one guy that can get you in trouble, and that's Soto. And you could just pitch around him. Everybody else, like he's got the potential, Alcantara, tonight to go a complete game. I don't think very many guys on the board actually have a realistic chance to go. Now, I think he went 8 innings last time out. Yeah, he'll, if the guy gets 27 outs, he'll sprinkle in enough strikeouts to make it extremely worth your while to play him. So I like Alcantara more than those other guys.
Hey, Chop, Soto's got 3 homers this year. How many RBIs does he have?
I'm going to guess, judging by the lineup, 3.
Yeah.
That's astonishing.
Isn't that amazing? Like this deep into the season, I know that lineup stinks, and whoever's hitting in front of him is like basically never good. But you figure at some point he'd run into an RBI. But not happening just yet. TJ's in the chat as well. What up, TJ? And if there's somebody we haven't talked about, I got my eye on chat. I know producers are watching the chat as well. But while we're on pitchers, before we move on, start talking about the sticks, feel free to throw out a pitcher if we haven't touched on them. Stroman is cheap on DK, Keith, but I don't know how much you need him, and that's kind of what I hear from you as well. If you are going to scrape the barrel, I think Erod's a better play than Stroman. Erod is 6'3", Stroman's 5'9". Paddock, I guess you can kind of sort of somewhat make an argument if you want to, but I don't think I do. Is there anybody else that we should really acknowledge, or anybody else you're going to be heavy on outside of like maybe a sprinkle here or there?
With Stroman, it's just too tough of a matchup here. He has not been great to start the season either, giving up quite a bit of hard contact. I know one of those starts came in Coors, but this Atlanta offense has a lot of power, and there's no strikeout upside for Stroman. So I agree that Erod would be the guy if I was paying down. Paddock's a little interesting, but we just haven't seen the same level of strikeouts that he had in his rookie season. Great matchup with Detroit, so I think that's the one I would chase if I was looking for a pivot off of Erod. But like I said, I'm paying up mostly today for pitching. There's some value bats that we'll talk about that helps make that work. And I think that's the better route today.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at as well, too. Chop, is there anything you think it's worth talking about as far as pitchers, or shall we move on and talk about the sticks?
Did we talk about Josiah Gray?
It's funny. We talked pre-show, and I was talking about liking the Marlins. But, yeah, talk about Josiah Gray, who's like, an uber prospect, obviously, giving up a ton of homers, tough ballpark to pitch in. But there are, that Marlins lineup, despite your favorite player on the Marlins team, there are some strikeouts in that lineup.
There's a lot of strikeouts in that lineup. So
there's a lot of power too. But
so
yeah.
he's been one of the higher strikeout rate guys on this slate right here, believe it or not. And he's actually gotten into the fifth inning a couple of times his last couple of starts. And I'm looking at the lineup they put out there. Features several guys that are above that. I don't know what your cutoff line is for high strikeout rate, but above 25%, it kind of, starts to catch your eye. Well, they got 4 guys in there who are above that, and then another couple hanging on that boundary
who are those
too.
4, Chop?
Cooper, Garcia, Sanchez, Soler, Jism at the top of the order he's gonna strike out. He's a 29% strikeout guy. So, if you're looking for like 5 innings at a cheap price and maybe a lot of Ks if things break his way, kind of like Josiah Gray. Just says, he might, just cheap enough to throw in there, and you just never know.
I do agree he's interesting. I think he's interesting both ways, like to pick on him and to roster him, because he can get strikeouts. This Marlins team can strike out, but he also gives up a pile of homers. We were talking about this pre-show. In 70 innings. That's all we had to work with, right? That's what he has dating back to last season. Chop, 2.42 homers per 9. This is just an insane number. That's too many.
Yeah, he's the second highest, second lowest ground ball pitcher on the slate. So you're going to get, if you're not striking out, you're going to get things in the air against him. So, but what you're banking on here is, if you're playing him, you're banking on more strikeouts than contact. And you could, like you say, you could stack against him. He walks a lot of guys, so that helps. You stack equity, and then they get it in the air, and then they launch it. So I can see it both ways. I think he's worth a shot. I think it's worth a shot stacking against him too.
53.7% fly balls, which is just too many. And the home and the fly ball is not even that skewed. It's not even a crazy number, like 18%, which is not outrageous, especially when you consider that ballpark. And the walks at 10.7% is also unacceptable. I like it both ways. Keith, are you going to be on both sides of this, or you have an official stand, or maybe a stay away, or what?
I'm going to have both sides of this. A little bit of Gray just for the strikeout potential. Miami's striking out among tops in the league early on in the season here. But he does give up some home runs. So like you said, I think the Marlins make for a decent stack. I will probably be looking for power here more than I will be stacking them, but I definitely will have some Marlins exposure.
Yeah, Aguilar, Soler, Sanchez, Abasael Garcia, and then Jazz leading off he's got jack in the bag potential every single game he goes out there. He can bang one and swipe one. He's on the road. He's leading off. He's well positioned for 5 ABs, assuming he doesn't get pinch hit for, what's happened a couple of times this year. Tom Mattingly, the worst. All right, give me a summary here, Keith, as far as pitching. I think we're pretty clear where we stand on it. But if somebody has joined the show, they're thinking about their pitchers, where you at?
Yeah, Carlos Rodon clearly at the top, in a tier of his own for me. Really like the pivot to Gausman in tournaments, or running him as an SP2 on DraftKings. Paying up also a little sprinkle of Luis Severino. I think you can mix in Bassett, Alcantara, and maybe even Fried too. Especially with that Cubs lineup. We didn't kind of revisit that, but love Wisdom hitting near the top of the lineup for the Cubs. So I like Fried a little bit more than I did when I originally came on the show. And then Eduardo Rodriguez is your clear guy if you're trying to save some money. Decent matchup against Minnesota, some power risk, some control risk with him, but the price tag is right.
I see Bradley in chat saying, how is Dallas Keuchel still in the league? Well, I think it's because the White Sox still own like $40 million or something like that. They gave him a big deal out of Houston. Houston got the best of them, right, Chopper? And then there's a couple. What do we have for Dallas Keuchel? He's owed this year $18 million and $20 million next season. He's an unrestricted free agent in 2024 at age 36, and then he might just be gone. We'll see. He got his face fully punched in last time out. I think he had like 10 runs or something like that. I mean, it goes without saying, Chop, we're not playing Dallas Keuchel, right?
No, not well. Of course not, Dean. But
I don't know what sort of shenanigans you're up to.
Play Dallas Keuchel, but
he was on your Astros many years ago. Maybe you still have some.
He won a Cy Young, Dean. He won a Cy Young.
That's true. Yeah, man,
he was really good at one point, and he still has some of those qualities. He still gets a lot of ground balls, but yeah, you're right. You can't play him anymore.
I think it was like BABIP that got him last time out, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was still a pile of ground balls. Let's see. Dating back to last year, 12.9% strikeouts, which is just laughable. This season, it's at, he doesn't walk anybody, 2.6%. Like, still getting ground balls, 47% ground balls. It's just, a lot of that stuff found holes. I wasn't watching it, but yeah, he got just absolutely shellacked last time out. Let's move on to hitters, Chop. I think there's a lot of good hitting spots tonight that we can talk about. Many ways to get different as well. Pretty clear. The best place to go is, if not the Dodgers, it's the Yankees. If not the Yankees, maybe it's Toronto. But that seems like a pretty reasonable tier as far as stacks tonight. Do you agree that that's Dodgers, Yankees, Toronto, baseball variants, yada yada? Is that your top three? And maybe you have a preference amongst those three?
For stacks, Dodgers, Yankees, top two. The third, yeah, it's you know what? I wanted to say Houston, but I'm not impressed with that lineup they put out there. You know who it might be, Dean? I might go off the radar here for you.
Marlins?
No, it might be Toronto against Pivetta.
No, they were on the radar. I threw them at you.
Oh, yeah. I don't listen. I pretty much don't listen to you, Dean. I'm just winging it here, man. But Dodgers, Yankees, all right, that's too easy. And if you said it, it's too chalky. Let's go with let's go. I can't go White Sox. That lineup's depleted with injuries too. Boy, this is a tough one, Dean. Yeah.
Yeah. So the White Sox are without Luis Robert, and they're without what's his name's going to be out for like 2 months. Eloy. Yeah.
Boy, you know what, Dean?
And no Moncada, of course. So
I'll give you my third then. All right.
Okay.
Dodgers, Yankees, easy. My third. You mentioned Dallas Keuchel has like 13% strikeout rate, really bad. You know who the lowest on the slate is, and it's lower than Keuchel?
Is it Lynch?
No, it is not, Dean. It is actually another Houston pitcher. It's Jake Odorizzi. He's been terrible this year. So Texas is not terrible. They're not bad. They got some potential. Odorizzi has been really bad this year. So I said, well, maybe we could fire up Texas against Jake.
I believe the roof is open there in Texas too. I'm curious. What's the temperature, Chop? You step outside today? I know you're not in Arlington.
Oh,
Texas
man, it's actually a cold front came in, believe it or not. So it's not terribly hot. It's still pretty muggy, and there are some winds. I'd be interested to see what Roth says about the wind direction as it relates to the stadium down there in Texas. But it's not hot, that's for sure.
Isn't muggy good for baseballs to travel? I don't know. I don't know the science of it. I plead ignorance, but 73 is the current temperature right now. It looks like in Arlington, it seems. We'll see. Keep an eye on that. But I believe that roof's going to be open there today. What about yourself, Keith? You have a take as far as stacks? How different you feel like you have to be? Is there a clear and defined chalk stack? And how much do you need of that?
The Dodgers are my favorite team. I agree. The Yankees are right there with them. Talking about some of those value bets, the Dodgers bottom of the order, I have extreme interest in. Cody Bellinger and Gavin Lux are both cheap. Plenty of power from each of them, and they're facing Zach Davies, who I know was decent the last time out, but he's been dreadful for over a year now. So I really like the Dodgers. I like Toronto as well. They profile really well against Pivetta, probably more of a home run hunting spot than a full stack. I know Pivetta has control issues as well, but I like Toronto for some home runs. Pivetta gives up a ton of fly balls. Really like that. And then you guys were talking about Keuchel. I like these Kansas City guys as value bets as well. Dozier with a big fly ball rate against the ground ball pitcher interests me quite a bit. And Bobby Witt Jr. has shown fly ball tendencies as well. Another value bet. So I like the Kansas City stack. I don't know if I'll 5-man them, but I could definitely see a 3-man stack of Kansas City.
Man, if you pull up the plate IQ and you just do this season only, and I pull it back mostly to 2021 to get a bigger sample. But man, the Royals this season, pull it up, Keith. The Royals this season, 2022, it is a sea of red. They have been such a disaster. And well, to be fair, they haven't faced a lot of lefties, so the numbers are really, really, small.
Yeah, I mean, we're under 10 plate appearances in a lot of these. So
yeah, well, the season they've been bad, but like I didn't realize. Okay, wait, they haven't faced any lefties yet, but still, it's kind of alarming. It's always 0.
It looks horrible. Yes.
Whit Merrifield's like 2.6 on Fanduel, which is like he's been sputtering, but man, 2.6 for Whit Merrifield. That's interesting. And of course, the one guy that's shining is Sal Perez. And again, it's all small sample stuff, so not freaking out there. And we have seen, these guys flash potential in the past for sure. Is Mondesi he is such an enigma, isn't he, Keith? What's the deal with Mondesi?
Yeah, he really is a guy that has a ton of potential with his power and speed, but a little bit too many strikeouts. That's mitigated today though against Keuchel. So I like Mondesi in that as well. Just a lot of interest in this Kansas City team, but yeah, Mondesi's been inconsistent, strikes out a little bit too much, but the upside from the power and speed is there.
The same logic applies. Aren't you supposed to roster Michael Taylor against the Dallas Keuchel?
Yep, I can get on board with that as well.
He still finds a way to strike out every time I roster. I'm like, how is this K percentage only like 30%? But yeah, it seems like if you're ever going to roll him out there, task number one, like at least hit the ball, and he should be able to hit the ball against Keuchel. We'll talk more stacks later on in the show. I want to see if the chat has any stacks are sort of throwing out there. Anything you want us to talk about? Talk about the roof there in Texas being open. The Angels are sneaky. Tyler Ward is a lock. Angels lineup out today, and I presume Ward's going to go back in the starting lineup, batting first because he banged out 2 homers yesterday. Let's see if we've gotten that lineup for the Angels. This is about the time where they start. I think Madden's waking up from his nap about now. So let's see if we get our Angels lineup. Dodgers lineup's out. Betts, Freeman, Turner, Muncy down to 5, Smith, Bellinger, Taylor, Lux. So I think that's what we expected. I'm pretty sure. Nothing really stands out. Chris Bryant was scratched. If you guys are playing the 6 o'clock slate, he's got looks like he's got a back. So he's not playing baseball today. Hey, Chop, explain this to me. You're an Astros fan. Why does Kyle Tucker not ever bat above 6? And why can't they figure out their leadoff hitter? I know Altuve is hurt, obviously, but every day it's a new guy. Today it's Siri.
That's a good question, Dean. I just think that they've honestly, there's not this big, massive answer I have for you. I just think that they're content with kind of nursing the season along to start, and they're not really worried about necessarily winning or losing right now. Just stay healthy, give you good. Even though you're kind of slumping right now, give you guys days off. So, obviously when Altuve comes back, he's the guy that leads off. I would have loved to see Pena stick around there. I think he's really good, but I get it. If not Pena, then I think Jose Siri is a fine leadoff. He has some qualities that I like with the speed and everything. So I don't know. Dusty Baker's just winging it right now. He don't care really. He's just kind of like, they just want to get to. It's like a few years ago when they were under 500 in the bubble thing, strike short and COVID, under 500, and they get to the playoffs and they flip a switch and they make it to the 7th game of the league championship. I just think they're kind of unentertained right now at this point in the year. So that's why that lineup looks so bad tonight. But yeah, ultimately,
no Brantley as well.
I wish they would get Tucker up higher in the order, absolutely. But it is what it is.
It's just wild to me. Like, you can dictate how many at-bats these guys get, and you're saying, yes, I want Siri and Goodrum to bat more times than Bregman, Alvarez, and Tucker, which is just a wild thought to me. But, hey, what do I know? So Siri's leading off, and yet no Brantley today. Of course, Altuve's gone. We saw McCormick get dropped to the 8 hole. Maldonado back as the catcher. Speaking of catchers, Chop, let's go around the horn. Let's position by position who we like. Of course, on Fanduel, they don't force you to play one. You certainly can. There's some options. DK makes your roster a catcher. Who are your favorite catchers this evening?
All right. Well, cover your ears, Carty, but Salvador Perez is a lefty masher, so I go Salvador Perez right there. And I'm on the mix of Toronto being a really good stack today. So Zach Collins, you could do worse. Pretty decent salary for a catcher, and if you're spinning up, Grandal's fine. If you're saving a little money, maybe maybe Higashioka from the Yankees.
Who's that now?
I probably messed that one up, but we'll be all right with that one, Dean. Honestly, we're at the catcher position. I don't even have to play one on FanDuel, but those are a few guys that kind of stand out to me.
Higashioka. What do you have for me, Keith, as far as Keith, your favorite catchers this evening? I think Collins, Chop mentioned them. He's batting cleanup tonight with Toronto. There's no Gurriel in the Toronto lineup. Of course, they're without Teoscar Hernandez as well. So, Gosoki Kato also. It's a rough Toronto lineup. It's really front loaded. Beyond Springer, Bichette, Gurriel. Again, you get Collins pretty cheap. Chapman, plenty of power in that bat, but then it kind of sort of falls off pretty good. Catcher wise, Keith, who catches? Well, I was going to say who catches your eye. I didn't mean to do that, but that's how it worked out.
Yeah, agreed. Salvador Perez at the top is a standout play. Love him today. Will Smith, 4,700. Don't mind that as a pivot off of Grandal. Got to find a couple extra bucks, but really interested in him. Like the power from Collins and Higashioka, like them in a stack or even as one-offs as cheap value options. Could find a home run there. Travis d'Arnaud is the other one I'll throw out there. Mentioned Stroman's been struggling a little bit with the hard contact, ground ball guy, but d'Arnaud is still a little bit underpriced in that fifth hole for Atlanta.
Yeah, DK still hates the Braves for some reason. It's not as egregious as it was, but still kind of sort of somewhat egregious, right?
Yep.
Some of the players at least. Some of the guys seem a little bit underpriced over there. Let's knock out first base. First base, of course, more options to choose from. It feels like there's a big opportunity cost. Freeman versus Zach Davies in Arizona on the road. Decent shot at 5 ABs. Couple of them probably go well for him. Vladdy against Pivetta, his home run tendencies, his fly ball tendencies. I don't mind Abreu against Lynch. Of course, if you have all the salary in the world, Ohtani always in play for sure. Keith, do you have any favorites amongst those? Who do you want to add to the first base conversation?
Yeah, Vlad is my favorite. I think he is definitely hitting a home run today. The profile against Pivetta is outstanding. Freeman coming with ownership, but this is a great spot for him as well. So those two are clearly at the top for me. Don't mind Abreu, but probably somebody I'd end up underweight on to get overweight on those other two. Cheap guys, I think you can look down to Yuli Gurriel in that Astros lineup. Nathaniel Lowe is a guy with some power. Odorizzi gives up a bunch of fly balls. Can see him hitting a home run today. Let's see here. There was one other I wanted to mention. Hunter Dozier is eligible at first as well. I like his profile against Keuchel. Like him to get it in the air today.
I like Aguilar on FanDuel where he is 2-4, which seems it's a little bit too cheap for his power potential, batting second for the Marlins tonight. Also, Andrew Vaughn is first base eligible on FanDuel. He's in the 2-hole. Big time prospect for Chicago, plenty of power there. Lynch, not somebody we're afraid of. And, Chicago's lineup a bit depleted of late. One of the benefactors there is Vaughn getting moved up to the 2 spot. Chop, who do you like at first base?
I was going to say Andrew Vaughn, but there you go again, Dean.
I'm stealing your picks, man.
Stealing my damn picks, man. Yeah,
you can still roster him.
I like Andrew Vaughn at first base on FanDuel. He's first base eligible. Give me a little Andrew Vaughn. Of course, you already mentioned him. Vlad, Muncy against Davies is fine. Andrew Vaughn was the guy I was looking at, and that's where I'm gonna stick up to. I mean, I probably have a little bit more interest in Jose Abreu than it sounds like you guys do. And I forgot what they call this guy. There's a good nickname from Brad Miller, but I kind of like Brad Miller tonight, a cheap guy, cheap option.
Brad Miller's got a nickname? He's nicknamed worthy?
Where's Kirk? Kirk is in chat. Kirk is in chat.
It's probably a nickname you made up for. Oh, the Rat? Is that what it is?
No.
According to the interwebs, he's called the Rat. I don't know. I don't know what happened to him and if he's in witness protection or anything.
No.
It's kind of a generic
definitely
name.
Not the Rat. It's very complimentary, actually.
I'm just telling you, according to Twitter, not Twitter, according to the Google. I didn't Bing it or anything if you need me to a second source, but Google believes he is the Rat. But your boy Kirk Tease is lurking, so maybe he'll give you your own personal nickname for him. By the way, you did mention Muncy. I know you're looking at FanDuel. I don't think he's first base eligible on DK, but FanDuel, he's still really cheap over there, 3.2K. You should almost definitely lock him into your cash game lineup. If you don't have Muncy in your cash game lineup tonight, you just might be you might be Muncy in the middle of nowhere, Chopper. You hate when that happens, don't you?
I hate that, Dean. I hate when that happens.
Does Chop get my reference is what I'm trying to figure
I
out.
believe you're referring to Kingpin.
Yes, there it is. Good job, Chop. I knew you would get it. There you go. That feels like a movie you'd like.
Bamboo Brad. That's what we're looking for, Dean. Bamboo Brad.
That's not.
That's his nickname.
That's not a confirm. If I type that in the Google, what will come up?
I'm telling you, it's Bamboo Brad. Kirk Deese is telling you it's Bamboo Brad. What more do you need, man?
I need a
You think we're just like conspiring to come up with weird nicknames for? It's his nickname, man.
I mean, your track record, future behavior is best predicted based. Current behavior is best predicted based on future. No, wow. Fool me once.
Try again. Try again, Dean.
Why can't I get that right? Keith, you know what I'm saying here. I just can't seem to get the words, lined up correctly. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior.
There you go. You got
That's what I was going with. And Chop, you have a track record.
I have a track record as a trendsetter, Dean. I'm jumping on these things. By the way, Dean, did you happen to catch this week's Better Call Saul?
I've watched the first 2 episodes on the premiere. I did not watch last night's episode.
Whoa. I almost dropped a big spoiler on your ass.
I have to close the chat now because somebody out there in chat.
Oh boy.
It's so first episode was so good. Second, I'm so excited that it's back. I'm gonna miss it already when it's gone. But just an incredible, phenomenal show. Very excited that it's back. But Chop, you could just tell me it was good and that it was a good, I assume.
All I'm saying, Dean, is when I get off the show, I'm gonna enjoy a big plate of nachos.
Oh boy, jeez. I know it.
That's nothing. Come on. Yes, it was. Of course, it was good.
Brad Miller on bringing his lucky bamboo to the Texas. So I guess this is real.
Dean proven wrong again for doubting the boys. Interesting.
Phillies sparked by bamboo. Brad Miller's resurgence. All right. Well, fair enough. Hey, you're like 3 for 30 on these, so you got one right.
Erroneous.
Keith, were you aware of this vaunted nickname for Brad Miller?
I had not heard that one before.
Yeah, we're gonna start working this in now. Bamboo Brad. Was not aware of that. Where were we at? What were we talking about? Better Call Saul. We were talking about first baseman. You already talked about first baseman. You got anything else to say?
Nope. I think it's time to move on to second.
You want to knock out second?
Yeah. Max Muncy, you guys mentioned he has second base eligibility both sites as well. So he's clearly your guy, I think. I do like Jazz Chisholm a good amount. You mentioned Gray's home run problem. I think that's how you pronounce it. Chop can correct me if I'm wrong there, but Albie's at the top as well. I do like I think Stroman's a little bit off right now. So not a guy I typically like to target, but I do have a good amount of interest in Albie's. Simeon against Odorizzi, he gives up plenty of hard contact to righties as well. So I like that quite a bit. And Gleyber Torres, if you need a value option, I think could make some sense. Rough start to the season, but a great matchup against Jordan Lyles here.
You can also swipe a bag against, you mentioned picking on Stroman to some degree. He's a guy that's vulnerable to give up stolen bases. I did see somebody in chat talking about Keuchel, who's given up 2 stolen bases in like his last 400 innings or something like that. So he doesn't know any stolen bases. Who was the guy? R.A. Dickey was another guy, just never gave up a stolen base, despite the fact he's throwing like 60-mile-an-hour knucklers, whatever it was. But, he wouldn't have a big leg kick. The whole process of getting the ball out of his hands wasn't very long. Yeah. I feel like that's an underrated thing, Chop. We don't talk about that enough as far as, especially for certain players. Remember, I'm sure, Chop, you've been playing this game long enough. You remember Billy Hamilton versus John Lester Day?
Oof, of course.
Those are fun, right?
Yeah, those are some good matchups. Those when you're deep diving, we used to have to deep dive into that kind of info, man, back then. Now everything's kind of like just gifted to us on Lineup HQ. We got it all right here. But back in the day, you had to dive into those good holding batters on stats and things like that.
Yeah, and I think actually Hamilton has 2 homers versus Lester. You never really banked on the homers, but I'm pretty sure he has 2 home runs against them, which I would venture to guess that there's no other player he has more than 1 home run against in his career. What do you have as far as second base, Chop?
Yeah, I mean, it's like he said, we're in lockstep on this one. There's not much else. The Dodger connection. If you can play, I can play Trey Turner at second or Max Muncy on FanDuel at second. So, yeah, those guys. And, this is probably this has got to be your favorite position, right, Dean?
Second base?
Yeah.
Well, okay. All right. I'm going to regret this, but why would second base be my favorite?
I mean,
position?
what other position can you? I know you love to play with a little semen and jism. I mean, two solid second basemen there. I know you get to roster both those guys tonight.
Well, I mean, you can only roster one second baseman. So
no, that's fake news because they're both eligible at shortstop also on FanDuel. So you get them both, Dean.
Well, okay, we're talking two different sites. I believe they're both. Well, yeah. I like Jazz Chisholm this evening. I like myself a Marlins mini stack to a full stack potentially. They're going to be way off the radar, and Gray as a wide range of outcomes. And it's a massive ballpark upgrade for the Marlins as well, going from one of the worst ballparks to hit into like a top 5, 6, whatever it is, give or take, depending on ballpark metrics. And they're locked in those 9, locked in for 9 innings. So yeah, I do like Jazz Chisholm this evening to roster in some of my tournament lineups. Do you want to jump to third, Chop?
Third base. Let's do it. We're at third base now. All right.
Yeah. Well, that was your cue to do it.
All right. So there's an array of guys here. All right. Donaldson, part of the Yankee stack against Lyles. Got to love it. Chapman, part of the Pivetta, stacking against Pivetta. If I'm one-off guys like Alex Bregman, a little resurgence this year against a left-hander. Don't mind Alex Bregman. Jose Ramirez. I don't want a Cleveland stack, so I'll just one-off a guy like Jose against a left-hander. And, of course, this Taylor Ward kid looks really good. You can play him. And last but not least, if I don't want to stack against Stroman, I don't know if that's really going to be profitable, but one-off and a couple guys here or there into a lineup like Austin Riley, I think could be good. So, there's plenty of good names here.
Man, third base on DK is loaded. You mentioned Riley's a little bit too cheap over there. Devers, of course, not playing, but Muncy, you could play at third on DK. Bregman, Donaldson, Brad Miller, also known as, we all know this. This is not, we're aware that he's Bamboo Brad. He's pretty cheap, obviously. It's kind of a loaded position. I feel like you got to get third base right. Chapman, a part of that Toronto stack, is certainly in play. And then, if they have a salary for J-Ram, I don't like stacking Cleveland either. They're just like not. I like Franmil too. I know Franmil's kind of in a bit of a scuff these days, but he has got an insane amount of power, and he's really, really cheap in some places too. Keith, do you have a preference amongst third base? Because it's there's a lot to like.
Yeah, there is a lot to like. Muncy is my favorite, but I think you want to play him at second because of your noted strength of the third base position here. I really like Bregman with the platoon advantage, just 4,700. Hitting third for the Astros, really like that. Austin Riley is a bit underpriced, wouldn't mind that as well. Chapman, another fly ball hitter, facing Pivetta, who gives up a lot of fly balls. Good chance for a home run from him today. Miller, you could save some money with. Don't mind Jake Berger with the platoon advantage as another value option. Yeah, Bobby Witt Jr. is another guy I mentioned. Like those Royals quite a bit today. A ton of options, but Muncy would be my first lean, but I think I would prefer to play him at second. So I'll go Bregman as my top option at third.
We're still waiting for Witt's first homer, right? I think so. Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah, 185 average. Yeah, no homers just yet. Kind of been scuffling. He is pretty cheap. Obviously he's a massive prospect. Let's jump to shortstop, Keith, where, again, the Dodgers, Trey Turner is going to be popping to some degree. Bichette, I think he's got a pretty good price still on FanDuel. We saw him break out yesterday. That dude does not get cheated when he swings, man. He swings really, really hard and well positioned tonight versus Pivetta. If you like the White Sox, Tim Anderson leading off. I believe he's currently appealing that 1-game suspension he has. I don't know when that's going to maybe get to hearing at some point, but as far as I know, he'll be playing baseball tonight. He is in the lineup. Keith, do you have preferences here at shortstop?
Trey Turner would be my first option. He's coming with ownership. So I prefer to play the bottom of that Dodgers order as kind of a swerve off of the chalky guys at the top. Lux still has shortstop eligibility on FanDuel, I believe. So I just pivoting down to Lux and saving the money. I like doing that, but Turner's a great option. I'll be underweight on Tim Anderson for sure. Not as in love with the White Sox as their ownership is coming in. Lineup's a little bit watered down with their injuries. Love Corey Seager against Odorizzi. Carlos Correa against Rodriguez. And Jeremy Pena, even though he's down in the order a little bit, the price is up. But like Chop said, he's a good prospect, a lot of talent there. So I don't mind him. Adalberto Mondesi, another guy, another Royal. Let's see if we can find another cheap guy here. Nico Goodrum at the top of the Astros lineup, I think makes quite a bit of sense as well.
Chop, what do you have as far as shortstop?
A lot of the same names. I like the Seager Simeon combination there for Texas. You can get them both at shortstop on FanDuel. I think Seager, this could be a good breakout spot for him with his new team. Tim Anderson against in like he said, a platoon matchup. I like that. I haven't heard the platoon in quite a while. So the platoon, I like that one. Tim Anderson, he's always been good.
Platoon matchup, yeah.
Yeah. We just, we don't get to say it enough anymore because Carty just does all the projections for us. We don't have to worry about that stuff. So
we can say it.
But I don't say it. But I don't say it as much as I used to back in the day when I would do this stuff myself, Dean. So I'm telling you, I get to say it. It's a word I haven't heard in a while. And I just heard it, so I like it. Tim Anderson against the left-hander. We're going for Francisco Lindor. Has actually been pretty good this year. We go Lindor. I like the Correa call. And not because of the numbers, but because of the narrative, Dean.
What is the narrative?
Eduardo Rodriguez, the whole playoff thing, when he taunted Correa, when it was 2-1 Red Sox, he taunted Correa, and then they didn't win another game.
Did he put in his watch? Is that what he put in his watch against?
He did the my time correct. Dean, tell me you watch playoff baseball, Dean.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing that, and I thought that was pretty cool. Like I'm all for fun and celebration and have a good time.
And Alex Cora jumped on him. Alex Cora jumped on him and said, "Hey, don't poke the bear. Don't poke the bear." And sure enough, he poked the bear, man, and that was it for the Red Sox. Kirky's
that
Red
homer
Sox
wasn't against Erod though, was it? I mean, that was late in the game.
But Erod did the thing, and he was pitching a masterpiece, Dean. So Correa's gonna narrative is that he remembers that it's gonna be. Tonight he's going to get some revenge on him, is what I'm telling you, Dean. And he's going to hit a home. He's going to hit a home run, and he's going to point at his imaginary watch on his wrist and watch what happens there. Anyway, moving on, Dean.
Game 17 of the season, he's going to point to his watch.
Aladmus Diaz. Narrative Street knows no games, Dean. It's always it's bitter. It's bitter when guys don't like each other. Aladmus Diaz, okay, against the lefty. I don't mind that. He's really a quality hitter. He's $100 over minimum on FanDuel. You can do a lot worse than that. And Pena was mentioned. Bo Bichette against Pavetta could be part of a good stack too. So yeah, good shortstops out there.
He stunk for me last night though, Diaz. He was on my best lineup. But he was bad at baseball for one game. So what should I do?
He's not hot right now, that's for sure. He's not hot, but you just take him because he's $2,100. I mean, he's so cheap. You can take a shot on him.
I don't think he made the lineup. Just
are we sure? Let me see here.
Let me confirm.
Diaz. He has an NA by his name, lineup HQ. Yeah, don't play that guy, man. Buffoon. I'm a buffoon. Jeremy Pena. Go with Jeremy Pena. Shift those shares. If you threw some lineups in real quick, because I said that, shift those shares to Jeremy Pena.
Chop, I'm concerned. We're done with the entire infield, right? We've talked about catchers, first base, second base, third base, shortstop. You've given me nothing as far as your BVP. You're a BVP specialist. Are you sitting on them all for the outfield? Is there no BVP today?
Sometimes there's just not BVP, Dean. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not in the cards.
Did you look? Did you not research before the show, or is there just nothing out there?
I did not really research the BVP today, but I can look it up real quick if you want me to.
I know it's Aaron Judge's
my gosh, Chris Bryant got scratched.
Welcome to 20 minutes ago. I mentioned that in the show.
He had the BVP today, Dean. Sheesh. He had the BVP
Why would he
working.
not power through if there's no?
Oh my goodness, Dean! You're gonna like this one. Correa 6 of 10 against Rodriguez plus the narrative streak.
What?
We're cooking tonight. We're cooking tonight.
What does the weather? It's 40 degrees in Minnesota. Is that a problem?
It's probably 40 degrees in a bunch of places across America. We can't. Beggars can't be choosers, Dean.
But I don't have to play guys that are anywhere near 40 degrees.
It's 70 degrees. It's 70 degrees in Texas. That just goes to show you it's probably all across the Midwest. It's probably not ideal hitters weather.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and that's what I mean. We're looking at a total of 7 in that game. And you mentioned Keith as well. You mentioned I think Baez and Correa. And Baez usually, whenever he gets a hold of it, it'll go out pretty much anywhere when that guy actually makes contact. But I don't know what to do with that game because there are some good, interesting spots, especially the Minnesota side, as kind of leverage, I guess, against Erod as well. But I hate seeing that weather. But I don't want to not play it specifically for that reason. Elaborate on that game because I don't know what I'm doing here. I think I'm just going to avoid it.
I'm not scared of the weather because I like the matchup so much. I mean, Rodriguez is a talented pitcher, but he gives up power to right-handers, and the Twins have a lot of power from the right side of the plate. Been talking about Correa. We're about to talk about Buxton. You got some Sano down in the order. I'm going to still look to Minnesota for some home runs despite the weather. I don't think it eliminates the chance of a home run, and I like the matchup for a lot of these Minnesota righties.
Yeah, I don't think it eliminates the chances. It just makes it a little trickier, I think. It's basically, but doesn't mean they can't do it, obviously.
But they're pretty low owned too, so I mean that helps offset it. Good matchup, low ownership. I can deal with the weather in that circumstance.
Taking a peek at the old YouTube chat, whatever I miss, producers will be all over it. We'll talk about it in the show the best we can before we bring in the Crunch Time crew. You all get Derek Carty, you get Squirrel Patrol, 20-time live finalist, give or take. And I believe, Roth let you know what's going on weather-wise as well. Couple questions here in chat we can knock out. Chopper Brian wants to know, or not. My issue with him is why is this price out of hand right away? I know he's look good so far, but they skyrocketed his price. Yeah,
they did, but there's some power potential there. So, I mean, he's overpriced. That means he's not going to be played. I like it as a low-owned tournament option.
And they also kind of buried in the lineup as well. I think he's in the 7th spot now, I want to say. Yeah, 7th spot versus Taylor Hearn. Choppy, are you willing to play Pena? He's 4.8 on DK. Ooh. What's his FanDuel price? He's 2.8 in FanDuel. That's much. That's
good
much
price on FanDuel. Bad price on DraftKings. But like he said, that just means that on DraftKings we're talking about probably 2% ownership or something like that. So, yeah, he's got that upside. He cracked a home run off the Toronto closer the other night. To win the game, Dean. That he had closed 31 straight games without a blown save, and Pena got him. So he's got some upside. Let's play him at no ownership. Why not?
I think Roth updated his weather. It looks like the colors have changed, if I remember him correctly. So it looks like Miami, Washington's now yellow-green, and the Yankees are now yellow. I'm going to go ahead and drop this in chat so y'all can read it at your own leisure. I see Hingo in the chat. Roth will be coming on, chief meteorologist, in about 20 minutes. And I'll give you an update as far as what's going on. And he'll stay on, of course, all the way up till basically first pitch of that game, if anything happens to change. But that is the most recent update we have. It looks like a positive as far as baseball weather in Washington, yellow, green. Light showers around early could trigger a late start potentially, or they could just play through it. Either way, there's no reason not to play ball outside the fact that it's Washington and they do goofy things sometimes. And potential yellow-orange in Philadelphia, but we're not really worried about that game. That's not the main slate. And yellow as far as the Yankees. Outfielder, Keith, there's a lot to pick from. Who are some of your favorites?
There are a ton to pick from.
Who are some of your favorites?
There are a ton to pick from. Betts and Judge look like the chalky guys at the position, both in phenomenal matchups, but big ownership numbers. So I likely end up a little bit under the field on both of them. I don't want to fade them completely because they're guys that can hit you 2 or 3 home runs and actually absolutely break a slate. Miller's grabbing quite a bit of ownership at his low price tag. On DK, I would be under the field on that for sure. You guys mentioned Andrew Vaughn at first base. He's outfield eligible on DraftKings. Like him with the platoon advantage, $4,100 seems like a good spot. Hitting second. What to do with Joey Gallo? Oh man.
Could DK just get him out of the player pool? I don't want to. Just don't play him. The Yankees sit him for a couple days. I keep losing money in him. But go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off, but I get triggered when
warranted.
I hear that name.
Exactly. Me too. But I mean, this is a guy that has 2-3 home run upside at $3,400. So I'm going to have some, regrettably. We'll play some Stanton with him. Cody Bellinger is my favorite play here at the position. Dude looks like he's rounding back into form. Couple of home runs here over the past week or so. Just a phenomenal matchup against Davies. Still way underpriced for his talent level. I will be significantly over the field on Bellinger. And then Hunter Dozier is a guy I mentioned at first, but you could play him in the outfield as well.
Dodgers also on the road, locked in for those 9 innings. And I checked yesterday. I don't know if things have changed or not, but Arizona, short season, only so much you can do with the numbers. But so far this season, Arizona, worst bullpen in all of baseball when you consider Sierra as well. Chop, you got some outfielders you like?
I do, Dean. I'd also like to address the weather situation real quick.
Okay.
Because, you did point out that it's pretty bad hitting weather, but just looking at Roth's WeatherX, there are no standout good spots. They're just all, at the very best tonight, you're getting neutral. And in some spots, you're getting terrible. Miami, Washington is the worst spot on the board, according to Roth. Now, I don't know if this is real or if he's just throwing numbers out there, but, so there's always bad. So you got to bite the bullet on some of this stuff and take it. So with that being said, I'll go back to my outfielders now. All right. So some of the same guys, Judge, Trout, fair enough. I like Trout. I want to play Trout over Ohtani right now. Ohtani just
over who?
Ohtani. What's his?
Tony?
What's
Tony's last name?
It's Shohei Ohtani. So I'd rather play Trout over him. Vaughn, outfield, also get this one, Dean. I can play the 2 Houston left-handers, Kyle Tucker and Jordan. Play them both for a combined less than 10% ownership, cheap price tag. And, it's because of the lefty-lefty matchup, but really they're probably only get at the most 2 at-bats against the left-hander. Then they get a bad bullpen at the most. Yep. And they can run him out of the game even earlier than that. So love Kyle Tucker, Jordan combination right there. And another guy off the radar, low ownership, AJ Pollock. I don't know. I'm still holding on to those days of Arizona where he was really good against left-handers. I know he's not as good anymore, but
can he still play, Pollock? Is he still good?
Yeah, he's batting fifth tonight against Lynch. So you could be in a worse spot than AJ Pollock.
Yeah. All right. But I just took a peek at the Rangers bullpen. Just worth noting, there are a pile of lefties there. I mean, almost definitely they come in with a righty, but at some point they might cross paths with our lefty again. But Alvarez smashes lefties too, and they're both really cheap. I'm fine with those prices on FanDuel, especially if they're going to go relatively unowned. Like, I'm not frightened by the left on left, but there is Allard, Burke, King, Martin, and Moore. So they do have 5 lefties in that pen for what it's worth.
Rangers really carry 5 lefties in the pen. That's just terrible.
Well, it's funny because some teams have 3 left. They have a whole bunch of pitchers there, and I don't know. I think this is up to date. Let me give it a refresh unless something's changed and somebody got called up today. But the Rays have 2 or 3 less pitchers, just kind of comparing bullpens. The Rockies got a second one. They had Ty Blach, but now they added Lucas Gilbreth. But there was sometimes last year where the Rockies had 0 lefties, and the Marlins, I think, had 1 maybe. Important. Tigers have 1 lefty in their bullpen. Just weird that some teams just don't carry they don't value that. They don't think that's important. But also the teams that tend to lose a lot, just coincidentally, I'm sure. See some questions here in the chat. Feel free to fire up some questions in the chat. Somebody is asking for a cheap catcher on DK. I think that answer is Collins, right, Keith? Is that the best cheapie? Or maybe Darno if you don't have that money for Collins?
Yes, I would be fine with either of those. A little bit better matchup for Collins, but Darno is in a fine spot as well.
And by the way, Chop, I did pull up the Weather Edge, and it's not a huge sample for Washington, but you are right. It's not looking great for hitters, but also it's worth noting it's a really good ballpark. And, that ballpark getting downgraded, there's more room to drop because it's starting at a higher point. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. No. But in 40, that doesn't make sense.
I wasn't really listening. If you can explain it to me like I'm 5, then we're good. If not, we got to move on.
All right, Michael Scott. Today's Pretzel Day, by the way. I saw that on Twitter. Apparently.
Okay, now you're talking.
You remember Pretzel Day on The Office? Are you aware of this? Maybe you've seen The Office, right, Chop?
I've seen some episodes. I've never watched them from the first episode to the finale. I've never seen the whole thing. I don't think. I probably have seen it pieced together throughout the years, but I never sat down and watched it.
You watched them all out of order, like it was Pulp Fiction.
Yep, that's it.
Keith, you an Office guy?
Not huge. I've seen a lot of it, but kind of same boat as Chop. I've seen good enough to know what you're talking about, but not ever just straight through front to finish.
Fair enough. Let's see. Washington, 41 game sample, not a monster sample. 37% downgrade in homers, 9% downgrade in runs. Yeah, I don't love seeing that, but again, the Marlins guys are pretty cheap too, and Bray does give up a fair share of homers. We can put the stat game. We got the Crunch Time crew coming in about 10 minutes or so. Oh, what is that noise? Oh, I have ESPN open. That's what's going on. Jesus. Is that I don't want
to.
That
is the worst. The worst. You're just sitting there like looking at a box score and you leave the tab open, and then 2 minutes later you randomly get video playing. It is the worst.
You can't just let me look at scores without like trying to sell me like a bag of shoes or something. Tonight, by the way, if you're playing some NHL this season, NHL value rankings are free. It seems like we're giving away one piece of RG premium every single night. You do not have to be an RG member. Well, yeah, you don't have that premium or anything like that. You can get yourself the NHL value rankings. It's free to anyone play tonight. I think I was checking to see if the Panthers play, because the Panthers are best team in hockey, future Stanley Cup champions. You guys excited about the Panthers winning the Stanley Cup? Get excited.
No way.
Chop, can you pronounce some hockey names for me by chance?
No, I can't, honestly. I actually played hockey DFS for a good month and a half or so for a while, because I was just, didn't want to do basketball. Basketball was just didn't spark me this year at the, once football ended. So I wanted to kill my time with it. And I give it credit. It was better than I thought it was going to be, but no, I can't pronounce their names, but I do remember, who I like, Dean? Tampa Bay. I like the Lightning.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean,
they got a nice team. They got some good scores on that team. I like them. They're my favorites to win it all, Dean.
Yeah, well, the Tampa might meet Florida at some point in the playoffs, and it's gonna be fun. I'm probably gonna go to a game. I haven't been to a hockey game in a while. I was at the last time they got eliminated in the playoffs. I think it was against New Jersey, Game 7, maybe like 8 years ago.
Call up Siege. Siege loves to go to hockey games.
I don't think he's like around the corner.
Trust me, you call Siege and he'll get on a plane and fly down and catch a game with you.
I mean, I know people. I have friends theoretically that can say, "Hey, let's go to watch the game." Let's knock out some stacks. Or you want to pick some homers, Chop? You're pretty good at this. Give me 3 guys that are going to homer.
3 guys that are going to homer. Okay, number 1, I feel confident in Corey Seager tonight. Just based on some other things, I'm going to say Andrew Vaughn. I love his splits here. His platoon action tonight. I like the platoon action.
That's a good word. We should use that. Work that in more often.
Yeah, let me do that more often. And let me see. Let me find you another one.
Carty doesn't let us use it anymore.
I don't want to be too obvious, but give me Vlad Guerrero. He's the best hitter in the game right now. And I love the matchup tonight. Give me Vlad.
Is Vlad the best hitter in the game? Did anybody talk about Buxton?
Awesome. Well, first, Buxton, yeah, he just gets hurt too much, so I'm not going to put Buxton up there. And you know what? I think that somebody, it used to be for a long time, it's definitely Trout, but I think Trout has been supplanted now. So let's give it to Vlad. He's awesome.
Did anybody see that video of Trout check swinging and like somebody did some weird editing and look like a home run? I think they made it look like a home run, and I studied like 3 times. Like, this can't be right. And like, it turns out they were having some fun on Twitter. Not everything is real on Twitter, it turns out. I don't know if you know that, Chop, but
it's amazing. Yeah. People think that some of these videos are like, you don't believe anything you see on reality TV or the internet. Don't believe it. You just can't believe it.
Well, wait, reality TVs, that's not a lie, is it? The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, that's not legit?
It's crazy how my wife sits there and watches it and thinks it's real. It's all so scripted. It's crazy. Crazy.
You know what I feel like doing? I feel like going skydiving. Oh, my uncle runs a skydiving school. Let's go. And like, next scene. Yeah. I've never watched it before though, so I don't know what you're talking about, but I imagine that's how it goes. I'm more of a Real Housewives of Salt Lake guy. I think that's one of the options. I don't know. You get roped in, Chop? You have to watch them with the wife?
Watch what?
The Real Housewives stuff or
I
whatever
don't
you're
watch
watching.
Real Housewives.
You just said she's watching it. You're telling her.
No, I didn't say. I said reality TV, not Real Housewives.
Whatever. Whichever.
Oh, there's a huge difference, Dean. Well, I
Kardashian,
love the
does it matter?
MTV Challenge is not even close to Real Housewives, Dean. Come on now.
Is the challenge real?
The competitions are real. I mean, the editing, yeah, you got to watch out for the editing and stuff. Yeah, some of that stuff is fake. But American Idol's not the Real House. It's a reality TV, but it's not Real Housewives of Atlanta or anything like that.
Yeah,
I love some American Idol.
You got to have a story though. You need a backstory to get on that show, don't you? You got to get some waterworks going.
Oh, you got to be talented, Dean, in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, there's a lot of good TV out there, Dean. I'm not watching Real Housewives. I can't believe you would even insinuate that.
You a big Sanjaya guy?
No. I don't like those ones. I don't like those particular vignettes that they do on American Idol. I don't like those. I'll say that much.
Keith, you have any thoughts on this?
No, I don't touch any of it. So
yeah, it's not for me either. But people love it. That Andy Cohen's a freaking genius. The guy's made $1 billion, like 20 different versions of the same show. Keith, what do you have as far as homers tonight?
Got a couple of those. Love Chop's call on Vlad. I was going to mention him, but I'll pivot over to Jazz Chisholm. We talked about Gray's home run issues. Definitely think he gets one today. Give me Hunter Dozier for a cheap one. Love that matchup against Keuchel. Good fly ball guy, can help with the ground balls that Keuchel produces. In the mid-range, give me Kyle Tucker. You mentioned Alvarez being really good against lefties, but Tucker, since the start of last year, has a 258 ISO off of lefties too. So both of those lefties in Houston can mash some left-handed pitching. So I like Kyle Tucker.
We can field some questions. We can play the stack game until we have the Crunch Time crew knocking on the door. Y'all get Derek Carty. You got Kevin Roth telling you what's going on weather-wise. And Squirrel Patrol will tell you his tournament takes as well. Pick one of these two. I don't know if this was Kirk D's asked this question in chat. Maybe Kirk D's answered it. He's Kid Yahoo, but if you can play the role of Kid Yahoo for a second, Chopper, give me your favorite third baseman on Yahoo specifically, Brian Hayes or Bobby Dahlbeck.
Brian Hayes or Bobby Dahlbeck.
What slate is it? Okay, so Pittsburgh plays at 6:30.
That's the early game. Hayes against against
he's facing Woodruff. You're not picking on Woodruff.
Gracious. Who's the other one? Dahlbeck?
Yeah, who's
probably
also strike out?
Probably Dahlbeck. Wow, geez, he's what against Gausman?
I don't know who asked this question. I'm just.
What are we doing here, guys? There's got to be minimum salary guys on Yahoo that are better than either one of those guys.
I'm trying to find I'm curious now. They're like super cheap over there. Why is it not giving me the price?
Everybody's super cheap on Yahoo.
Yeah. I mean, I like Hayes, but not against Woodruff and Dahlbeck. He can hit a homer. Sure. I guess I would pick Dahlbeck. You're going to force me to pick one of those two.
Wait a minute. What's the salary on the 7? What is it?
Seven's the floor on Yahoo.
Yeah. What's the salary on those guys though?
I don't know. I don't have that in front of me for some reason. I can't find it.
Geez, you could get
Bobby Witt Jr. for $10 would be my pick. If you can find the couple bucks.
Cleanup hitter for $11, Justin Turner. I think you find a way to spend the extra $3, man.
What do you have, Keith, there as far as somebody's asking about the Mets? Any interest in the Mets? You like the Mets stack tonight? Give me a 1 through 5. 5, you love it. 1, you hate it.
Let me see here.
We didn't really talk about that.
Yeah, it's difficult with the Hicks situation. Like Hicks is a pretty talented pitcher, but he's not likely to go beyond like 3-4 innings. So it's kind of a bullpen game. For that reason, I'm pretty much staying away from it. I don't mind hunting some home runs, but Hicks is a pretty talented guy, and then they can match up out of the bullpen. So I'm going to say like a 2.
That's where I'm at. I don't like picking on bullpen games unless, and the ballpark's not ideal for hitting either. Chop, you got to take as far as the Mets. I agree. I'm like at a 1.5.
They've been good this year, but this is not the game I feel great about stacking. I give them out of 5 to 2.5.
All right. How about the Texas stack, Chopper? You love the Texas stack as a 5.
Love it.
1 you
love
hate.
Love it. Gotta go 4.3. Love it.
You don't want to add a 4.37? Just 4.3 is the number?
I mean, then you start to confuse people with numbers, Dean. Just 4.3 is fine. Odorizzi's been terrible this year. I kind of don't know why he's even in the starting rotation. Like
because McCullers is hurt.
Well, but you've got Christian Javier down in the bullpen. You could stretch him out. There's options. There's better guys in the minor league system for Houston that are just throwing heat than Odorizzi. But I get it. He's just kind of sitting there and doing his thing.
They seem to like Javier is like a long man, right? Guy comes in for like 3 innings or so.
He's so young. I just don't think they're ready to stretch him out to be a starter just yet. But eventually it'll happen. But right now, Odorizzi, he's terrible. So maybe he gets it together, but if he doesn't, I like Texas. And then the bullpen for Houston, I think Ryan Presley's still out. So you've got everybody shifting down a spot in the rotation out of the bullpen. So you're going to get some, if Odorizzi gets eliminated earlier, you get some weaker arms in those spots. So Texas looking good tonight, man.
What do you think, Keith, as far as Texas?
I like it more as a mini stack than I do as a full stack. So full stack, I'll go 3. But I love the Seager-Simeon low combination.
Bamboo Brad?
Yeah. Bamboo Brad's fine. Don't love his ownership today.
Bamboo Brad is your own personal fetch, man. It's going to happen. You're making it happen, Chopper.
It's on the internet, Dean. It's real.
Well, there are a lot of things on the yes, we've already
it's real, Dean. It's real.
I guess it's sort of real. Angels lineup is out. Ward is leading off once again as presumed. Ohtani, that's Shohei Ohtani. Mike Trout, Walsh, Rendon, Marsh, Duffman, Suzuki, and Velasquez. Do you know Kurt Suzuki is like number 17 all time in current hits among active players? Something ridiculous like that. Is that a fun fact? I don't know.
Because he's what, 38 years old or something?
Yeah. I was looking at the list the other day because I think Miguel Cabrera may be the last person, I don't want to say ever, but possibly ever to get 3,000 hits. Might be it.
Potentially.
I'm pulling it up. Now I'm trying to find the list and I'm buying time and I'm doing.
Dean, would you say that Kurt Suzuki is the Crash Davis of Major League Baseball? Just the longevity, the longevity gets him the records.
Yeah, I suppose that's pretty reasonable. I don't know what kind of nefarious affairs he had off the field, and I don't want to get into that plot point of Crash Davis. But Crash Davis was a home run guy. He had the most home runs in the minor leagues, right?
Well, you know what I'm saying, Dean.
I know what you're saying.
The longevity for Crash got him there. Suzuki the same way, not like super talented, but he's been around for so long. He's just racking up records. Yeah.
Now I'm trying to find the list. I'm scrambling and I can't seem to find it, but baseball reference. There you go. That's what's going to happen. So if we pull it up, of course, Pujols, Cabrera, Robbie Cano at 2,600. He's not going to make it, right? He needs 370 more. That's not happening. No shot. Yadier Molina needs 900. No shot. Joey Votto needs 1,000. No shot. Nelly Cruz needs 1,000. No shot. Now the ones that may have a chance. Let's see. You think maybe Mike Trout, possibly, right? Where's Mike Trout at? Wait, Bryce Harper is at 1,288. He's on the back end almost, right? He's not getting there.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Yeah.
The emphasis on the walk is a big thing, and then the power, obviously, selling out for power and striking out a lot more is a big thing as well. So I agree, you're going to see fewer of them, and there already weren't to 10. So
Kurt Suzuki, 38 years old. He's got 1,400. He's all-time. Current list who's playing is 24th. Nobody's getting there. Freeman's at 1,725, but he's 32. Altuve at 1,783, 10th currently.
So a guy like Altuve, I think maybe would have the best shot, but I agree he's a little bit too old to have a shot at that. If he played into his 40s, maybe, but unlikely.
There's nobody. Betts is only at 1,100. We're never going to see it. We're not seeing it. It's not happening, Chop.
What are we seeing?
We're not seeing it.
What are we not seeing? I didn't catch the first part of it.
We're not.
30,000 hits.
If you didn't realize, if it wasn't obvious, this was me buying time to the Crunch Time crew.
I'll tell you what, Dean. Here, I give you something to chew on, Dean. There's people. Speaking of Kurt Suzuki, there are people who say that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the only reason he has the scoring records is because of the longevity. That he wasn't all that particularly talented. That's just what people say.
Mathematicians, why? He played 25 years. Of course they're going to say that. Why wouldn't they say that?
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, you disagree. You're phrasing that. You're framing that in a way where you think that's wrong.
What? I think Kareem's a good player. I don't think it was just the years that got him. There's Roth. Roth needs to give us his new take on Giannis. Does he have a newfound respect for Giannis?
I hope it's updated.
I do. I do. I mean, he literally made me look like the dumbest person in the universe by winning the championship. When my take on Giannis was, you can't win a championship if you can't shoot and you're the star. He still can't shoot, but he can win a championship because he did it. So now, I was wrong. I'm an idiot.
Asking Roth the question here. What if he goes into this next series against Boston and just gets obliterated? It gets made to look foolish. Will you jump back on the train now and say, I told you guys so? Because that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen, Roth. Watch what happens.
That is what I'm going to do. But on it, he's won me over with like the things that I had against his game, I still have against them. He still can't create. He still can't shoot. But he does everything else so well, and he tries so hard that like he's won me over. I like him, but he still kind of is not skilled and sucks.
He's also so freaking delightful. He opens up his press conference by telling dad jokes.
Yeah, he's great.
Seems like the nicest guy in the world.
He's wonderful. So I like him, but I kind of hope he gets crushed. So then I'll be back on my Giannis bullshit.
We're gonna yield to you in a second. We had this conversation, and maybe Carty has a thought. Carty, this is it. We've not seen. What up, Carty? What's up, Squirrel? We're not going to see another 3,000 hitter in our lifetime, right? It's not happening.
I think, if we do, it's going to be a while. So yeah,
we were looking at the list before. We were trying to kill some time, basically. But even your boy Mike Trout's at 1434. He's not getting there at 1434.
No, not with health issues.
Yeah, I don't know. These kind of things don't matter. Like the last two people to get it, like Cabrera, Pujols. Bernie Mac wasn't that long ago, I guess. I don't know, 15 years ago. But that's it. I think that's all we got.
R.I.P. Bernie Mac, man.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, I think. Well, I don't want to give any spoilers, but I think he sat on $29.99. No spoilers though. But I think we got to go though, Roth. People want to know about the weather in Washington.
Wait, hold on. Mr. 3000 didn't actually get to 3,000 hits.
I don't believe so. But I think he bunted like a sacrifice on his last play. Yeah, I no spoilers, but well, kind of spoilers.
Jesus, Dean, I can't watch that movie.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's out.
Statute of limitations. It was like 20 years ago. You haven't seen it now. That's it. It's your fault. It's on you.
That's fair. That's fair.
If it came out yesterday, I wouldn't tell you. But yeah, the people want to know, Roth. They want to know what's going on weather-wise. The FanDuel sponsored Crunch Time starts now on behalf of myself and TJ. Nope, not TJ and Keith. TJ was in chat earlier. And Chopper, thanks for watching. Stick around for Crunch Time, sponsored by FanDuel. We're out of here.
I appreciate it, Dino. We'll roll right into Crunch Time, sponsored by FanDuel. By the way, check out the FanDuel 125K MLB squeeze, 25K to first, $4.44 to enter. Also, if you haven't signed up for the FanDuel Sportsbook, do so now. Legal sports betting state, get a risk-free bet up to $1K. And FanDuel Sportsbook users can take advantage of that with their bonus, with their first-time bet, which is pretty neat. And we are grateful to FanDuel for helping to get all of this content out to you for free. So shout out to FanDuel. And shout out to these two gentlemen, two of the sharpest minds in the biz. One, creator, CEO, CFO, and wizard, not grand wizard, just wizard of the bat. Derek Carty. What's up, Carty?
Not much. Yeah, we got like a full slate. We have like pitchers actually projecting well. It's a good slate tonight.
Excellent. Okay. We got Squirrel as well. Squirrel, was it 4 years ago? You tweeted today.
5 years ago. Yeah.
5 years ago. This is one of my favorite stories. I'm just going to pull up the tweet here, if you don't mind. This will take me like 1 second because I gotta scroll through all my nonsense notifications to the good one. All right. So this was your tweet 5 years ago that at 8:00 p.m. you followed me for the first time on Twitter at KevinRothWx. You should do that if you don't, by the way. At 8:30, you stuck with a national stack despite there was rain and late starts and all that, right?
Yeah, I remember you saying, like, game's going to play. It's going to start late. It's definitely going to play. No reason to fade it. It's Coors Field.
And then at 1:30 in the morning, you took down your first 100K GPP.
Yeah, exactly. It was a big night. I mean, it was huge, and the rest has been history. So, yeah, it's a great night, and thank you for the weather forecast in April 26th, 2017. I couldn't believe I didn't follow you on Twitter already.
Right. I was a little offended, but really, I remember that moment. Like, I remember the next day waking up and reading that tweet and being so freaking thrilled. Like, so thank you for taking the time to send that tweet. That was really nice. And congrats on, what is now just pocket change for you, because you do that like every weekend.
Yeah, that's definitely still not pocket change.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the weather. I think that's a good transition into what we're doing. We've got rain in the Mid-Atlantic games. If you haven't followed along, that's Washington, Philly, and New York. Washington, I am very confident they're going to play, and they're going to play without issue. They just pulled the tarp about 5 minutes ago, so I wouldn't be shocked if that impacted warm-ups enough where there's just like a brief late start. But even if they announce a late start, that game's playing. Washington's fine. The games in Philly and New York are going to see a little bit more rain. I still think I'd play them both, and I still think I'd play them both in every format. This batch of rain that's over Philly right now is starting to clear out. They will see more during the game, but it's light. So play ball in Philly. And then in New York, I'm just looking at the latest radar here. Ooh, it's so close. I think the rain's going to miss just off to the south and east of New York. And what they'll see is light enough to play through. So my take is, if you want no risk, feel free to fade New York and Philly. If you are okay with some risk, I think they're all going to play. I think they're all going to play through some light rain. Squirrel, do we want all of those games, or are there some of them where we don't care about anyways?
I think they're all, Washington? I'm basically playing everything as though it's going to play.
Great.
I'm in like near Washington right now, and it looks pretty rainy, but it's not raining. So forecast sounds accurate.
Yes, it's a lot of that. It's a lot of like light rain and drizzle and off and on, but it's not like it's going to wash out this game. So, okay, that sounds good. Carty, any other weather questions here for me? Sometimes you get very nitpicky with like, you want a pitcher here. You need me to promise you there's no delay.
Nah, I mean, it doesn't seem like we really have a whole lot to worry about tonight, outside of Philly. And even that, we're not playing anyone in cash there, I don't think. So, that seems fine for GPPs.
Okay. All right. That sounds good to me. Well, look, we've only got 30 minutes or so until lock. So let's talk about this slate. Carty, you said you liked it. Make the people love some of these pitcher options.
Yeah, I just like that it's a full slate. Early in the year, a lot of times we have, the split slates, the early, the early games and the late games, the day games at the start of the year. So we have like a full slate tonight, which is nice. And we have Carlos Rodon on this slate, and I'm just like such a huge Carlos Rodon fan. The bat loves him. Like, outside of Jacob deGrom, it doesn't think there's a better pitcher in all of baseball than Carlos Rodon at this point. His fastball velocity has just gone up every single year by a lot. Like, he's throwing 6 miles an hour harder than he was 2 years ago. And his numbers are just insane, and he strikes everybody out. And tonight he faces Oakland, and Oakland is essentially the worst offense in baseball by like a lot. Actually, hold on. I think I can show it here on the screen. If you go to the bat projected lineups page, you can like see the quality of every team's lineup. So like if you sort by WOBA, you see the Dodgers are the best, of course. At the very bottom here, though, that's Oakland, 288 WOBA. And like the next ones are like all kind of bunched up in like the low 300s, and they're at 288. Like, they're just so bad. So Carlos Rodon, like, he's going to be popular. Obviously, like, he's not a secret, but he projects for almost 30 DraftKings points, which is easily the highest anyone has projected for all year. And I just think he's awesome tonight. You play him in cash on both sites. And then on DraftKings, you figure out who you're pairing him with.
Okay, well, let's figure out who you're pairing him with over on DK.
Yeah, so I think there's probably two options. I guess you could squint and make three, but I think it's probably Luis Severino or Eduardo Rodriguez. Erod's a guy who his reputation isn't as good as his actual talent level. He can get blown up at times, but, a lot of his luck metrics are kind of, he's gotten a little bit unlucky. I think that's part of what kind of feeds into the reputation. He also has played his whole career in Fenway Park, which is a really tough park for pitchers, but he's with the Tigers now. And he's 6.3K tonight, and he's a good pitcher, and he's in a decent matchup. And so, especially spending over 10K on Rodon, he's a good way to save money. The other guy I think I'd go with would be Luis Severino, because he's also really, really, really good. He's just never healthy. but when he's healthy, he's like a top 5 or 10 pitcher in baseball, and he's healthy this year. The matchup's good against Baltimore, so I really like Severino. You can make a case for Max Fried. I think he's fine, but I'd rather just pay the extra 200 for Severino or go down to Erod.
Okay, and then are there any tournament options that are, you know, a little bit more off the board, or those are 4 guys that you mentioned. You could maybe just stick with that as your pool in tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a good pool. I'm sure Squirrel's going to have some guys, but I like Chris Paddock. He's another guy that I think is just better than people think he is because he's just had bad luck the last couple of years, but he's a solid pitcher. The matchup's really good against Detroit. He's 7K. So I think Paddock is definitely a good tournament option.
Okay. Squirrel, you want to walk us through some of these pitchers?
Sure. So yeah, Carlos Rodon is definitely going to project as the best pitcher by a pretty good margin on both FanDuel and DraftKings. I think like FanDuel single entry, I think you can fade him just because he's going to have such high ownership, especially in that kind of format. And there are guys like Luis Severino, like I like Kevin Gausman, who are kind of right there, you know, especially once you start considering ownership. Because I think Rodon's really going to have like standout ownership, especially in you know, like cash. You don't care about it in cash, but like you care about it in tournaments and single entry. So I like Luis Severino probably the best after Rodon, just because that Orioles lineup doesn't look good. As long as you can promise me they're going to play in New York, I like Severino. I think they have, you know, I think Baltimore has got like one of the highest K percentages. I think the highest K percentage on the slate, and like the third lowest WOBA or something like that. So bad offense that strikes out a lot. I like Kevin Gausman because this Red Sox lineup doesn't look good, doesn't have like a high implied run total. So I like Gausman. And then I think for DraftKings, I wouldn't be as excited to like fade or be under the field on Carlos Rodon. And to be clear, like if you're multi-entering, like I'll probably have as much Rodon as I have any other pitcher, but I'm probably going to end up being under the field just because I want to go over the field and like Severino and Gausman. And then like Josiah Gray is a guy I like on DraftKings where you've got to pick 2 pitchers. So again, like on DraftKings, I'm not going to be as under the field on Rodon just because like it's tough to fade him twice on a 2-pitcher slate. I got a 2-pitcher site.
Yeah.
But I still like Gausman, still like Severino, Eduardo Rodriguez, like Carty said, you know, he's a guy I'm interested in, particularly on DraftKings. And then Josiah Gray is probably the guys that prospect, and it might be a little bit of homerism, but like he's one of the guys the Nationals acquired for Max Scherzer from the Dodgers last season. So he's a prospect who's starting to like live up to the potential. So that's something I'm always wanting to be ahead of the field on in tournaments.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you said only if I can promise you the pitcher can go in New York. I can't promise you, but I was just looking at Radar again, and I think it looks pretty darn good. Like I don't think you should fade it based on weather. So no promises, but I like our chances. Okay, good stuff, guys. Let's talk about some of the bats and in particular some of the stacks. So Squirrel, would you like to lead us off with? I always like to go over the chalk first and then kind of get some of the pivots.
So we have a clear chalk in the Dodgers. I think they have the highest implied run total by more than a run. But I think again that's going to cause really outsized ownership in tournaments. So I'm probably going to be more under the field on the Dodgers stack than I am on Carlos Rodon in tournaments. And there's a lot of other good offenses. I think the Yankees may be the next most popular, but I'm highly interested in them facing Baltimore. Again, you know, some weather concerns, probably less weather concerns for the offense than for the pitcher. Let's see, like Houston is another offense I'm interested in. I think that, you know, they're at Texas. I think, you know, you always like the visiting team is going to get an extra turn in the 9th inning potentially if they wouldn't get if they were the home team if they're ahead. A team that nobody's mentioning, the Angels. I mean, they have like, you know, Mike Trout, they have Ohtani. Their lineup always comes out a little bit late, right? And so that I think that drives ownership down a little bit. I think it's something worth considering. So those are probably, and then Texas as well. So I like both sides of that Texas-Houston game, like the Yankees, and then like the Angels is kind of an off the board stack.
Okay. And that makes sense about their ownership being driven down. Like I don't want to build a lineup now that I don't know who the players are going to be. So it's just, I don't know, it'd be kind of frustrating. So that does make sense if you want to be the guy to tune in and stick that out. Carty, stacks, what are you into here? Dodges?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, Dodgers are the clear best. They're the best team in baseball. They're facing Zach Davies. It's Arizona and the roof is open and it's like 93 degrees there. The Dodgers are clearly the best.
Real quick, can you play Dodgers and the spend up for the 10K Rodon at pitcher? Like, do you have the money to do this?
In cash games, you do. And GPPs, that's probably too much. You're playing too much chalk.
Right. Okay. Continue.
But yeah, if you're fading Rodon, then yeah, you can play a Dodger stack, pretty easily, I feel like, and have, fine with ownership and projection and everything else. So Dodgers are great. Yankees are right behind them. They faced Lyles recently, so they have some of that familiarity effect going on. They're at home. They're in Yankee Stadium. Lyles is bad. He gives up a lot of contact. The Yankees have a lot of power. It's a good power park. Like, there's just a lot of upside here. Squirrel mentioned the Astros. The bat really likes the Astros too today. I think they're a good option. In terms of like sneakier stuff, the Red Sox against Gausman, I think are pretty sneaky here. It's a good power park. The roof is closed, so it's some of the best, weather with everything else in like the 50s, 70 degrees there is nice. They've seen him recently, which is going to help. And I don't think anyone's going to have them because who wants to play people against Gausman? But they do project fairly well. So especially, so I just think they're a good option. And that's kind of, obviously there's plenty of other places you can go, but those are the ones that really stuck out to me.
Okay. Let's go position by position. Carty, start us off with a little catcher, please.
Yep, catcher. So if you have the money, Will Smith is the top guy tonight because the Dodgers are the top offense. We're going to mention a lot of Dodgers. They're the only team that projects for over 6 runs today in the bat and in Vegas. And so they're just clearly the top option. So Will Smith's really good. You don't have to play him in cash games, though, because the Blue Jays are in a good spot today. They're at home, again, in that Rogers Center with the closed roof. And Zach Collins is still their leadoff hitter or cleanup hitter, rather. He's 3.3K. He's having a pretty good season. He's probably playing over his head. But in this offense, in this environment, crappy position, really good price. He projects really well. So I like Zach Collins quite a bit. That's kind of it. I think Travis d'Arnaud is fine. If you want to save a little bit of money over Collins, he's sitting 5th tonight for Atlanta. Those are kind of your cash options, or, play someone in your stack, or, one of the big guys, Salvi or Contreras, as a one-off or whatever.
All right. Squirrel, what do you like?
Yeah. So last time we did the show, I said I like Salvador Perez because I want somebody that could hit 2 home runs, and he went out and he hit 2 home runs that game. And he's hit another one since then. Like, that's really what I'm looking for. For catcher, I'm either taking the guy in my stack, unless he's maybe hitting 8th or 9th or something. Or I want somebody that can hit 2 home runs. So Salvador Perez, or, like Zach Collins hitting cleanup, maybe Yasmani Grandal. But yeah, I'm looking for power at the catcher position, or I'm just going to match whatever stack I'm using for that lineup.
Okay. Take us to first.
So first base, Vlad Guerrero, obviously great hitter. Shohei Ohtani, I think he's going to go under owned. I think Ohtani and Trout, if you think about it, they really go under owned most nights if the Angels don't have a high implied run total, because people want to stack so much. And I think that's, like, I'm definitely not against stacking. I think you should be stacking absolutely in your tournament lineups, but it's good to put in a one-off, use Ohtani or Trout, someone who's going to be like single-digit ownership, or like low double-digit ownership when they're like the best hitters in baseball. Elsewhere at first base, maybe Matt Olson, Hunter Dozier. I mean, the Royals are always going to go overlooked the whole season, and then Jesus Aguilar to Miami. I kind of like Miami tonight as a sneaky stack. And Aguilar's got some power.
Okay. Carty.
Yeah, there's a lot of good high-end options tonight. Vlad, I think, is the top option. It's either Vlad or Freeman, really, I think, in cash games. You spend up for one of them, and they're both really, really good for obvious reasons. On FanDuel, I think you can play one of them. I think you could also, if you want, you can maybe throw Anthony Rizzo into the mix. The Yankees are really underpriced on FanDuel in particular tonight, so Rizzo projects well. Brad Miller, if you really need to save the money, is 2,600. He's leading off over there. He has power, so I think he'll go overlooked a little bit. I liked Miller quite a bit. On DraftKings, I think Miguel Sano, even though I like Erod, I think Miguel Sano absolutely has home run potential here. He's got the platoon advantage. He's only 2.4K. And I think Christian Walker also is just kind of an underrated talent. You know, he plays for a bad offense, so he's never priced high enough for who he is, but he has power. The matchup's solid. You know, the roof is open. So 3-2 for him, I like quite a bit.
Okay. I was doing weather updates and I'm kind of lost. I think we're at second base.
Yep.
Okay. Carty.
Yeah. So no surprise, the top option at second base is a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Max Muncy is a really good play. You know, he's been kind of cold this year, so he's not as expensive as some of these other Dodgers. He's 4.5K, but he's a really good hitter. So I like Muncy a lot. I think Gavin Lux in the same lineup is perfectly viable. I mean, Gleyber Torres for the Yankees, especially in your stacks at 3.6K, I think is a good value. And let me see. Nico Goodrum. We mentioned the Astros being a good offense tonight. Nico Goodrum's hitting second for Houston tonight. He's pretty cheap on both sites. And so I definitely like him as a way to save some money. Okay.
Good stuff. Squirrel.
Yeah, a lot of the same guys. So Marcus Semien is maybe the only guy that I think Carty didn't mention that I'm high on, but I'm tending to be high on the entire Texas lineup tonight in tournaments. Trey Turner, I guess worth mentioning, he's second base eligible on FanDuel. Yeah, I think almost the entire Dodgers lineup is like eligible at second base on FanDuel because Trey Turner, Max Muncy, Chris Taylor, and Gavin Lux are all second base eligible. Chaz Chisholm, somebody that I'm interested in a little bit higher on the Miami, but actually I kind of like Josiah Gray, the potential there, the strikeout potential, but you can also get blown up. So Miami with Chaz Chisholm at second base.
Okay. Third base.
Third base, Max Muncy also eligible at third base. So, and like I really like Muncy kind of as a one-off. So like I'm probably going to be under the field on Dodger stacks, but like if there's a guy, like that, I definitely have no problem playing Dodgers as one-offs. So Muncy, Josh Donaldson, Brad Miller on DraftKings, Alex Bregman. I like the Astros. I think he's got the platoon advantage, I believe, facing a lefty. And then, Justin Turner on the Dodgers.
Carty, I imagine you're going to talk about some Dodgers.
Yeah, Muncy, Turner, they're great. Donaldson for the Yankees, especially on FanDuel, is great. We mentioned Brad Miller. I forget what position. I think first base or second base. On DraftKings, though, he's third base, so he's really good there. The other guy I'd throw in would be Matt Chapman. I like the Blue Jays a decent amount tonight, and he's 3.8K. He's got absolutely power potential here. You know, I like this environment, so Chapman I think is going to go overlooked.
All right, would you shortstop?
Yep. This is a spot where obviously Dodgers are really good, and Trey Turner is one of the better hitters on the team. So Trey Turner is clearly going to be the best shortstop tonight. I think it makes a little more sense to pay up for him on DraftKings than FanDuel, because FanDuel you are going to have to save a little bit. You're not going to be able to save with a second pitcher spot or at catcher like you can on DraftKings. So Turner's great. You can also play Gleyber Torres on FanDuel because, like I said, all the Yankees are really way too cheap. We mentioned Nico Goodrum already. On FanDuel, he's at shortstop. He's, a really good option. And Corey Seager over on FanDuel, I think, is a really strong option as well.
All right. Squirrel.
Yeah, same guy. Corey Seager. I guess maybe Tim Anderson, Xander Bogaerts if you want to play against Gausman. Yeah, same guys. Trey Turner is really the guy that stands out with the Dodger stack. I guess on FanDuel, Marcus Semien is also eligible at shortstop as well as second base, where I mentioned him. The same thing with Jazz Chisholm. So a lot of the same second base guys. I like at shortstop as well if they're eligible.
All right, let's bring it into the outfield and kind of close it out here.
Sure. So I think Mookie Betts, in that Dodgers lineup, like obviously he's going to be the leadoff man. So he's going to be popular. I think he's going to be one of the highest owned players. I mean, he stands out from a projection standpoint. Other guys that I like Mike Trout, like I mentioned, I love playing like Trout and Ohtani as one-offs. mean, you're looking for guys who can get multiple home runs and also steal a base, like Trout's, Trout and Ohtani, those guys can be total slate breakers. They just don't pop up as much as they should because people aren't stacking the lineup. George Springer hitting leadoff for Toronto. Joey Gallo, another power guy. Taylor Ward hitting leadoff for the Angels again. Like people might not necessarily wait for the lineup to come out. So I'll go a little bit under-owned. Jose Siri, outfield eligible DraftKings, leading off for the Astros. Dalton Varsho also leading off for the Diamondbacks. So all guys I'm interested in the outfield.
Okay, Carty, outfield.
Yeah, it's a lot of the same guys that Squirrel mentioned, like all the Dodgers guys, obviously Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, the whole Dodger team, the whole Yankee team, especially on FanDuel, Stanton, Gallo, Judge, 100%. Jose Siri leading off for Houston, Kyle Tucker for Houston. I mentioned liking some Blue Jays. George Springer, I think, is a good play. I think Jorge Soler is a guy with a pretty solid chance of a home run tonight, so I like him. Dalton Varsho for the Diamondbacks with the open roof there, always leading off, not catcher eligible on DraftKings anymore, but even in the outfield, I think he's a fine one-off type play.
All right. That's it. That's all the positions. Anything else you guys want to discuss here? We still have 8-9 minutes for QQs.
I guess I'll say something about the Dodgers stack. I think they're going to be very highly owned. So I think they have the best chance to score the most runs tonight, but I think that chance is only about 10%. And I'm guessing Dodger stacks going to be like 20% owned. So that's just a little bit of metrics to put behind the thought process behind the fade and single entry.
Makes sense. All right. I like it. Guys, let's get to some of these QQs. I'm scrolling up a wee bit here. And so we'll start with Tom. He says DK Cash, Grandal, and Garlic, or Collins and Siri. Sorry, it said colleagues, Ma and Series. Grandal and Garlic, or Collins and Siri.
Collins and Siri.
Okay. All right. Squirrel, this one's for you here. Your favorite outfielder for 2,700 or less in a DKGPP.
The DKGPP outfielder, 2,700 or less.
Is this a spot you don't want to be in?
No, I think it's okay. There's some salary guys, 2,700 or less. Maybe Adam Duvall.
Okay. He says also, could I swap Lux to the outfield and play Katoa at second? And Squirrel, I'll let you handle that.
Katoa.
Is that not a person?
Oh, it's Blue Jays.
Okay.
Well, I guess who would you be? So you'd be saving some money there because he's like 2,100. I'm not a huge fan of Gavin Lux because I think he's sitting way down in the lineup. I think he might be the ninth hitter or the eighth hitter. But I mean, yeah, you can do that, and then you're saving money to presumably spend up.
Okay. All right. Carty, DKGPP, can we take a shot on Stroman?
I mean, you can. He's cheap enough. He's 5.9K, but it's a bad spot against Atlanta. He's not a guy who strikes a lot of batters out, so I'm not sure the upside is really there. And this is a slate where we do have a lot of good pitching. You'll get him at low ownership, but there's plenty of other guys, I think, with higher upside that you can get at low ownership or low-ish. Erod, Sandoval, Paddock. There's plenty of other guys, I think, before I'd look at him.
Okay, hang on. I think I just had someone say delay in New York concerning. So I'm trying to see if did you guys see anything about a delay?
Anything about it? No.
Maybe this person just asking me, is the chance for a delay concerning, and not that there is actually a delay. If you see anything about it, let me know. Because I think New York looks pretty good. Like I stand by that. It's not perfect, but it's probably just good enough. Just checking another radar source here. Yeah, I think it looks just good enough for me. Okay, back to the QQs here. Sorry about that. We'll go to FanDuel Cash. Squirrel, I'm giving this one to you. 3v3. Free Money Freddie, Mookie, and Luis Gonzalez, or Vladdy, Brad Miller, and the birthday boy, Aaron Judge.
I'm going to go with the second one for tournaments, especially with the birthday narrative. I hadn't realized that. But
that changes everything. Yeah. Yes, love it. Mellow Rose, Carty, FanDuel Cash. In the outfield, would you rather play Springer as a one-off or add Belly to a Dodgers three-man stack? Is Springer just mashing? I feel like I'm seeing like highlights of him hit bombs constantly, but maybe that's just my feed.
I mean, I think you're always gonna add to your stack in a GPP. You know, Springer's better than Bellinger overall, probably, but just take the correlation.
Okay. Squirrel, being that there is quite a few righties in the Houston bullpen, does that lower Brad Miller's risk of being pitch hit for? Thank you.
Does it lower his? Yeah, I mean, if the full bullpen's all righties and he's lefty, then yeah, it's going to lower the chance of him getting pulled for a pinch hitter.
Great.
Yeah,
NBA DFS.
He actually hasn't even been pinch hit for that much this year. It's been like 10%, so it's not even like that high.
Okay. Great. NBA DFS, FanDuel Cash, Carty, Brad Miller and Rizzo, or Trey Turner and Siri?
Brad Miller, Rizzo, or Trey Turner and Siri. It's a close call. I'd probably go with the Trey Turner side, but there's not a wrong answer.
Okay. Squirrel, this is kind of a deep question, but I'll see if you can try to sum it up kind of succinctly here. When does it make sense to fade a popular stack versus include the lower owned guys and or make different combinations of that popular stack?
So I generally prefer to fade the stack entirely rather than going for the lower owned guys, because the lower owned guys are going to be guys that are lower owned because like they don't have power, they don't have speed, they're hitting like ninth in the lineup. Especially like on FanDuel where you're playing four guys. Like I don't necessarily want to go that deep into the lineup. If maybe if I'm doing 150, if I'm trying to beat out like 50,000 people, then I'm going to include like the ninth place hitters. So yeah, I prefer to just go with another team entirely, because like some other team is going to score a bunch of runs. Like the Dodgers have the best chance to score the most runs tonight, but it's only about 10% chance. If they're going to be 20% owned, that's over owned. Like especially in single entry, it might even be higher than that 20% mark. So that's what I'm looking to who else could score the most runs tonight?
Okay, great stuff. We'll go to Sherman's Tanks, FanDuel, better play at flex, Goodrum or Siri. They're both 2,100. I feel like a lot of people are searching for this value here. Carty, who do you prefer?
Take a look. I mean, they're both good values. Siri projects like very, very slightly higher. They're like the same.
Okay. Weeble, DK Cash, Freeman and Brad Miller, or Guerrero and Lux?
I think the first one.
Danjan, Royal Stack versus Keuchel in a DK GPP.
Yeah, actually, I like that a lot because he got kind of lit up his last start, and he doesn't strike anybody out, and people aren't going to own the Royals. So, and they have power. Like it got Salud Perez, they've got Bobby Witt, like Hunter Dozier. So I think that's viable. I mean, it's like a large field play, but I think I like the Royals in tournaments.
Okay. DUI says DK GPP. Do I lock Rodon in my 20 lineups? I got the feeling you are not doing that, Squirrel.
Like I don't think you should be like 100% owned or anything like that. Like that's something I would reserve for like the absolute standout pitchers when there's like no one else close to them on a slate. Like, and you rarely see that in slates this big. But I think like 50% ownership is certainly viable. It's tough to fade him twice on DraftKings.
Yeah. Okay. Steve O says Tristan McKenzie with the super hitters ump in a DK GPP. I've already got Rodon. Carty.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys I'd go to before McKenzie, but I think he's certainly viable enough. He's fine.
Okay, good. DK GPP. You got less than a minute until lock, so get those lineups in. Anderson or Turner in a DK GPP.
Might need some first names.
Okay.
Yeah, probably Tim Anderson or Trey Turner.
Don't know. Couldn't tell you.
It.
I'd go with Tim Anderson because Trey Turner is going to be like really highly owned.
Okay. Squirrel, got this question from MK. He says, I'm running a 4-4 Atlanta Dodgers. Did I just hear you call Duvall and make me feel like I'm taking it down? I don't know what the hell that means.
Well,
was that a
Duvall's
person you said you liked?
Yeah, Duvall's part of the Atlanta stack. So I think I made him feel good about his lineup, which is great. Hopefully it takes it down.
Excellent. That's what we like. All right. FanDuel Cash 2v2, Judge and Goodrum Carty or Tucker Donaldson?
They're both definitely good. I'd probably go Judge Goodrum.
Okay. With that, gentlemen, we have hit the lock. Hopefully we have guided you through the weather, the bats, the stacks, and the pitchers. Stick around real quick because there is one more free thing for those of you watching on YouTube. First off, please hit that like and subscribe. The NHL value rankings are out. I suppose NHL is probably locking right now as well. So I should have got that off the top of the show. But this is a new thing we're doing. We're giving away like a piece of free content every day to go along with the free crunch time, which is the ultimate free content. But go ahead and check that out. NHL premium value rankings are up today. Tomorrow, it will likely be some other nice little nugget of free, content for you. So just be sure that you're checking that out. We got a few like post-lock QQs coming in, and then we'll bounce. That sound good, guys?
Yep.
Okay, let's do it. Dan Jan, Carty, is a White Sox stack with 3 Braves good enough for large field DKGPPs, or is it too chalky?
I certainly wouldn't think White Sox and Braves is a chalky stack at all. I'd almost think it's, in a large field, it's probably fine. But I think it's going to be fairly contrarian. Like you can play Rodon in that lineup for sure.
Okay. All right. J Sam's FanDuel single entry Squirrel. I've got 4,300. I've got Miller and Trout in the outfield. I've got Justin Turner and Max in this lineup. Would you go Mookie, Ohtani, or Buxton?
I'd probably go Ohtani, like based on ownership and having Trout.
DKGPP, what high-owned pitcher would you stack against to be different? I believe this is that word that Cheese loves so much, the leverage play. Carty, is there a high-owned pitcher that you're interested in stacking against?
Yeah, Gausman would be the guy. It's not like he's going to be like overwhelming chalk, but it looks like we have him projected for like the 4th highest own percentage, and I'd be perfectly comfortable stacking Boston against him.
All right. It looks like Yankees just did delay, which not ideal, but still is going to be fine, I think. So don't freak out. Don't change anything. They just got clipped by this. They just got clipped by this little shower, but that should be fine. It's clearing out. It's going to be dry for like an hour before any more rain moves in, and then it's going to be light rain. So we stick with it. We stick with the plan, gentlemen. Thoughts on an Angel stack and FanDuel single entry, or do I keep that in large field, Squirrel?
I think you can do it in single entry.
Dan Jan, is fading Rodon okay for a DKGPP?
Like if you're doing one lineup, I think it's possible, but I'd still use like the other good pitchers. I'd use like Severino and Gausman. Then I wouldn't try to get like super fancy. It's less like I like the idea of fading Rodon entirely less on DraftKings than on FanDuel.
Okay. Late start is a little annoying. I wish they would have just went ahead. But okay. Roth, MLB player or one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, Dalton Jeffries. Dalton Jeffries. Is he an MLB player?
That sounds colonial as shit to me.
It does sound colonial. I don't disagree, but I feel like it's a name that I've heard before. Recently, and I wouldn't have heard random names from the Declaration of Independence recently. I think Dalton Jeffries is a baseball player.
He is.
Oh, there we go. Chinatown says, DK, when you say don't change anything in New York, what do you mean? I mean, there's a late start, and I don't know if did that lock already, and there's nothing you can do anyways.
Yeah.
So don't change anything because you can't now. But even if you could, I think it's going to be fine. It's about to be dry. In like 2 minutes, it's going to be dry. And it's going to be dry for over an hour. And it's barely raining as it is. J Sam's Fanduel single entry squirrel. Am I on the right guys for Texas? I got Marcus, Lau, Simeon, and Seager.
Wait, Marcus.
Is Marcus not the same guy as Simeon?
Yeah, Marcus
probably,
is the same. I mean, yeah.
There. Okay, yeah, he edited there.
Okay, it sounds good. The other guys sound good. So.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. With that, we are going to get on out of here. So for Squirrel, for Carty, for our wonderful production team, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.